Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this regular meeting of the Ventura County Community College District Board of Trustees. This meeting is called to order, and under our usual agenda items, 1.02 is provided is our ground rules and our board vision. Item 103, Chancellor, do you have a recommendation on tonight's agenda?
Recommended as presented.
Great. And under 103, 104, excuse me, changes to the agenda. We don't have any of those were previously added, a couple items from when it was first posted, but they've been there on regular. Public comments, we have no public comments for the closed session. Right. And backing up to 104, does anybody have any consent items they wish to be pulled? It's just a natural reaction.
Yeah, 10.05.
Okay.
Then I had when do I mention that if I have a comment on in regards to, we never discussed that. I'm just gonna make it when we.
Yeah, right. That would be the time.
Oh.
Okay. Especially if it's discussion or action, it makes sense, right? Okay, yeah. Okay, with that then, we are prepared to go into closed session under one item listed, existing litigation under Government Code 54956.9. And we will reconvene in open session at 5:30. Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Ventura County Community College District Board of Trustees. I would ask our student trustee if she would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And the board came out of closed session with nothing to report. And that brings us to item 3.03, public comments. I have one speaker card from Nathan Cole of AFT Local 1828. Nathan? Thank you for that, Dan.
You're welcome. Do you want me to repeat all that?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, my name is Nathan Cole, and I am one of the co-chief negotiators of AFT Local 1828. And I would like to inform you all, we started the negotiations process this past Wednesday. I'm sorry, my partner in crime is not here. She's feeling under the weather tonight, so I am flying solo. We received some articles from the district. We were a little surprised that they weren't as robust as what we were expecting, considering the issues that were raised by our grievance chair and our past president over the summer when they met with the district. However, there are several articles that will be coming to us in our next meeting, and we're hoping those things will be addressed. And if not, we will be addressing those in our proposal. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Item 4.01, Chancellor, is the acknowledgement of new employees. I'm going to call on you to hand off.
Yes, we will, as we go through the various reports and acknowledgements, we will be recognizing employees.
And I knew that process. Thank you for it. And the same will go for item 4.02 and 4.03. Acknowledgement of guests and special receptions. It's not a special reception, but we do have a special item on the agenda. That's the Moore Park College Aspen report. And by way of looking ahead, all three colleges will be submitting their applications, having been identified as in the top 150. Takes us to 5.01, classified Senate President's consultation. Alex, reaching for the mic.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening to you, members of the board, and Chancellor McLennan. I'll just briefly welcome new employees under item 4.01, and that is Melissa Moreno, Accounts Payable Technician, and Brian Derdarian, Network Administrator to the District Administrative Center. Thank you.
Linda, Moore
Good
Park
evening.
College.
Good evening, Board Chair, Chancellor, Trustees, Students, Trustees, and Happy New Year to all. Just a consultation on 4.01, welcoming our new classified professionals, Cynthia Gonzalez, Financial Aid Specialist, bilingual, Aida Jimenez Martinez, Counseling Services Specialist, bilingual, Lizette Lomeli Cruz, Project Placement Specialist, and Natalie Mendez, Administrative Assistant. Thank you.
Thank you. Sergio, Oxnard College.
Good evening, Chancellor McLennan, trustees, and student trustee Figueroa. Oxnard College has nothing to report on tonight. Thank you.
And is that it for classified? Okay. Academic Senate President's consultation.
Good evening. My name is Dolores Ortiz. I am the Academic Senate President for Oxnard College. Good evening, trustees, student trustee Figueroa, Chancellor McLennan, and guests. Tonight, I'd like to simply express support for a few agenda items. 10.08, action to approve acceptance of completion of Oxnard College Arts and Design Modular Building Complex. 11.01, action to approve academic articulation agreement between VCCCD and West Coast University School of Pharmacy. The academic articulation agreement between our district and the West Coast University School of Pharmacy will certainly benefit students from all three campuses. 12.01, action to approve and ratify personnel. I'd like to welcome the following part-time faculty to OC: Ruma Banerjee, Alejandra Gonzalez, Jocelyn McClarley, Ashley Naiman, Ilya Richter, Brenda Ruiz, Caleb Wild, Tyler Wilson. We're appreciative of all of our part-time faculty members. 12.02, action to approve the abolishment of a library assistant position and the establishment of an instructional lab technician 2 at our LLRC. And 12.03, so these are all just expressing support for the action to approve permanent increase in assignment for a program specialist in the career and technical education position at OC. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, see, is that it, or do we have anybody online? Nope. Okay. Item under report 6.01, student trustee, you want to introduce the Associated Student Government reports?
From Moore Park College, the Director of Advocacy, Judah Robinson.
Hello. First, we just wanted to shout out the Academic Senate at Moore Park College and Dr. Morgan. Our board just wanted to thank them for continuing to solicit feedback from us and the student body on issues that impact our 9+1 rights, such as the excuse withdrawal policy. It's just good to have conversations about that, and we're grateful to provide feedback. Second, our board continues to partner with a nonpartisan nonprofit organization called Buen Vecino to support the voter registration of students on campus. Moore Park College has also joined the Ballot Bowl, which is a competition to see which community college in California can register the most students to vote. So that's something that we're doing, and the students will use like a unique QR code in order to submit their registration. And we plan on to continue hosting voting drives and different events to help get more students registered to vote. And then Moore Park College is also planning our Club Rush event, which is to encourage students to continue joining clubs and supporting student life on campus.
And from Oxnard College, Associate Student Body President, Kay Palacio.
Good evening. We are currently working on our goal to increase the voters turnout for the student election. Currently, we are making marketing materials like brochure, flyers, and video to be posted online. We also reached out to our professors if we can do class presentation about student government and student election. We also had a long discussion regarding the excuse withdrawal and AP 5075 proposal changes. We have a couple of concerns, so we will be talking about it again next meeting. We also have determined our events for this semester. We will be doing our evening expo on February 6th and our club rush soon. Thank you.
ASVC President Mark Huff.
Good evening, Board of Trustees. To report from ASVC at Ventura College, we're ongoingly facing the issue and difficulties experienced at the Student Health Center. We are trying to research and partner with the current staff to expedite any feedback towards administration to seek remediation, including looking at the student health fee and a possible reimbursement, advocating for the students. We're also exploring the compressed calendar and communication across the divisions and departments across campus. We're also exploring, similar to ASMC and OC, the excused withdrawal process that's currently going through the shared governance committees. I'm happy to report that we are going to many different conferences this semester, including OSCE, and one of our board members actually did receive the scholarship out of 200 recipients for a full ride. So they'll be presenting there at the conference as well. And lastly, we are planning for a student club day event, and it's going to be the first week of February. And that is all I have to report. Thank you.
Trustee Chancellor.
I was wondering if you could give a little short summary of the issue you have with the Student Health Center.
Thank you. Currently, we do not have a nurse practitioner that is employed, and we don't have supervision over the health center. So a lot of the students are not allowed to receive medical services throughout the week. It could be Tylenol or Advil, Plan B, or even physical checks. There's only one provider that comes between the hours of 12 to 4. And I believe it's only 5 appointments that students are allowed to book for that time. So out of 9,000 students, only 5 students benefit from that time. And it's only on Wednesdays from that 12 to 4 hour gap. They aren't allowed to meet with the provider. They're not allowed to have any medication dispensed. And so this has caused a lot of issues for students trying to enroll into CNA or nursing, as well as myself. And other students have voiced their concern for this issue because they haven't been able to receive any medical services, and they do have to pay the mandatory health fee.
Thank you for that, Chair Press.
Trustee Chancellor.
I know later we'll be asking for request for information, but if we could get a response from the district shared to the board, that would be helpful.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda then is student trustee report.
So on December 20th, the Associate Student Body Presidents and myself met and discussed action plans we would like to take for the spring. We created action steps from issues we collected in the fall. For example, the Student Trustee Advisory Council staff has finalized scheduled meetings for the semester in order for me to listen to the students' concerns. We'll be meeting monthly, and this is something will be continued as practice. We also discussed student representation on district-wide committees. We're working to increase consistent participation within the associate students of all 3 colleges. And we're looking on ways that the campus and the district can help support students to fulfill these duties. Some of the things that we thought of were mentorship in district participatory governance committees, stipends and other forms of reimbursement from the colleges or the district. We also recognize that the food insecurity district-wide is an issue that we want to fix. So we want a long-term solution, affordable, sustainable hot meals options for students. We also want to create a district-wide task force to address this issue of food insecurity on all of our campuses. Finally, we also noted that the compressed calendar does interrupt the student election timeline. We do appreciate that the district and the campuses are including the students' voices in these conversations and discussions, and the other topics that impact students. And that's for my report. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to back up for just a moment and offer Matthew Morgan any opportunity if he wishes to give an academic senate consultation.
Appreciate the offer. I'm good for consultation for now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Item 603, AFT report. Nathan, anything additional? Or do we have anybody from AFT officially for this? I take it not. 604, SCIU report. Maria.
No report this evening. Thank you.
605, classified senate report. Alex.
No report from me this evening. Thank you.
Okay. Next in line, please.
I'll make it easy. No report this month.
I like the trend. Sergio, did I speak too soon?
Good evening. I'll give a short report. Sergio Harana, Oxnard College Classified Senate President. Just a quick update. The start of the semester is always a busy time for all employees, so we postponed our January Classified Senate meeting and invited employees to welcome and guide students on the first days of class. We also had our spring flex day the Friday before, where I was able to welcome and greet several of our new faculty at the new faculty orientation. Special thank you to our STEM grant staff, grant directors, classified faculty, and administrators who presented at our Flex Day workshops. And that is all. Happy New Year's.
Okay, thank you. That's takes us to 6:06, Academic Senate Report. Matthew, I'll give you another opportunity to speak.
Matthew Morgan, Academic Senate, Moore Park College. Good evening, trustees, student trustee, chancellor, colleagues, and guests. A while back, the classified prioritization process was spun off from our integrated planning committee to a subcommittee of classified senate. I just received a report from faculty involved in the process that the new process run by a classified senate president Resendez is going well. We're looking forward to the results of the January 30th classified senate prioritization meeting. Second, Senate is in an the Moore Park College Academic Senate is in an awkward position regarding this next issue. I need to talk about the collective bargaining agreement, which is clearly the AFT's purview. However, it is in regards to an issue that was designated for Academic Senate approval. So I'll tiptoe along this issue and hopefully not overstep. The 2022 through 2025 collective bargaining agreement includes a 10-hour-long distance education recertification course requirement for all faculty who have been previously certified to teach distance education courses and who intend to keep teaching in that modality. The colleges or district are supposed to create the recertification course, and the Academic Senate is tasked with evaluating and approving the curriculum. After the agreement was made, the district failed to create a 10-hour training for Senate to approve. On September 27th, AFT and the district agreed to a side letter extension so the district could have additional time to create the 10-hour training. Faculty who wish to continue teaching distance education courses now have until August 4th to complete the recertification training. At an October 25th meeting, the district's VTAC committee voted to advise the district to proceed in a way that does not create a 10-hour recertification course until after the August 4th deadline. At a November 20th meeting, it was stated to me that the college district was unable to create a 10-hour recertification course and get faculty needed recertification through the course by the August 4th deadline. As of right now, the Moore Park College Academic Senate is still awaiting a 10-hour distance education recertification course to evaluate and approve. Finally, I was able to attend the nursing pinning ceremony at the end of the fall semester. It was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Dolores.
Thank you. So on November 27th, the Oxnard College Academic Senate passed a revision of both the OC mission and vision statements. These were worked on over the summer by faculty members, Dr. Selena Benavides Black and Dr. Jose Maldonado, as part of the HSI task force at OC, which is now the President's Commission on Serving This. And so what they did is they spent many hours analyzing mission and vision statements from several other campuses who have been given the Seal of Excelencia Award or RNHSI with a history of advocacy and community representation. And so they weren't major changes, but they're amazing. And our Senate passed both revisions on a first read. So you can see the details in the board report. And those mission and vision statements are now going throughout the campus to the other participatory governance meetings. Oxnard College Academic Senate continues to discuss hiring and recruitment APs. We passed AP 7120E, hiring and recruitment of part-time faculty with the proposed revisions in November. We will continue to support and advocate for students via projects such as Undocu Faculty Allies. So this is a project began a few years ago, which has 64 faculty members from Oxnard College listed, signed up voluntarily. And we have many new faculty since then, so we'll recirculate that list. and additional support for places on campus such as the Rainbow Cafe and Resource Center. And of course, supporting ASG organized events such as their upcoming Black History Month events. Later this month, the OC Academic Senate will have a small group of faculty listen and provide feedback for a new sexual health education class that's provided by the Diversity Collective. They have a new program called Diversity Shines, which stands for Sexual Health Information Network and Educational Support. So we have a group of faculty who will attend on Friday, January 26th at 10:30 a.m. on campus and provide feedback so that the programming can be launched and offered not only to Oxnard College students through the OC Student Health Center, but also in the community throughout Ventura County. So we're excited to be able to be a part of that. In addition to recognizing faculty who completed their tenure process, in our last meeting in the fall, we were able to celebrate our retiring colleagues and support a community toy drive and a basic needs drive for OC Basic Needs. Oxnard College Academic Senate, as the president, I am happy to continue working with the other Academic Senate presidents. We've tried to meet regularly in discussions over email on topics such as the hiring and recruitment APs, the excused withdrawal, AP 4030 on academic freedom. But I do also want to share that Oxnard College Academic Senate is also awaiting a 10-hour DE recertification course. We will discuss this in our upcoming meeting. We're going to hear updates from our VPAA, but all faculty who are required to recertify would like to have a 10-hour recertification process available. And to finish, I look forward to attending the Strategic Enrollment Academy's midpoint convening with the leadership team from OC. So several of our VPs and deans are also will be attending in person in San Francisco or virtually. So looking forward to that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. A couple of quick comments. I'm glad to hear, and you've just mentioned that the three academic senates continue to engage with each other. I think that's great. And then congratulations to Professor Edmund Garcia on his nomination for the ASCCC Academic Senate California Community College's Hayward Award for Excellence in Education. He's at Moorpark College. So thank you. Want to offer Ventura College Classified Senate representative the opportunity to provide any report, consultation, or otherwise.
My tardiness, but I should say kudos to starting the meeting on time. I am here in lieu of April Montez. Our president is attending to her MESA duties this evening. I am the vice president, Olivia Long, and she asked me to update y'all on the status of our classified Senate scholarship. We were informed earlier in the year that we were going to be unable to award our scholarship. We didn't get the funds back from our investments as we hoped. It took a little bit of a dive. So we were tasked with raising $1,200 in order to be able to award our scholarship this year, which we wanted to, and we were successful with our December holiday silent auction in raising $795. And thanks to the brilliant idea of Dr. Hoffman's, we included a plant sale that raised an additional $275. That brought us to $1,070. And then we had funds in our trust and agency account that we were able to transfer $130 to meet our $1,200 goal so that we're able to award our scholarship this year. And we fund our trust and agency account through one of the events we do called Candygrams. So our Candygrams is going to be happening again in February. They'll be delivered the week of February 12th, and we're taking orders through February 2nd at noon. We have a meeting this Thursday. Usually our meetings are first Thursday of the month, but with the way that the apples fell out of the cart this year, we postponed it to this Thursday, the 18th. And we're very much looking forward to our special special guest, James Zavas, our acting VP, to give us an update on the budget and the program review that we just went through. And last but not least, we did add in the fall term a new executive board officer position to our Senate composition. We added an executive officer position called the Director of Committee Memberships to help us with our goal of getting reports and members on our campus committees to help us really nail that part of our participatory governance down. And we had an election. We had numerous nominations. We had one person accept the nomination. So he ran uncontested and assumed the role, and his name is Gabriel Aragon, and he works in our Civic Center office on campus. So we're excited to welcome him to Ventura College Classified Senate. Thank you.
Okay, and possibly the last catch-up speaker. I see AFT representative is in the house now. Do you have any the microphone, make sure it's on.
AFT interim president for the spring. I've been, just an FYI about me, I have been teaching at Oxnard College for almost 20 years, math, and I'm also department chair, and I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
Thank you and welcome. That brings us to 6.07 President's Reports, Moore Park College. Julius.
Good evening, board chair, board of trustees, student trustee, and guests. You have the report from the college, so I'll just identify three particular areas that are not included in the report. First of all, kudos and thank you to Professional Development Committee for curating and delivering professional development self-assigned flex day at the beginning of the semester. That session included workshops on emergency preparedness, documenting accessibility, the use of AI, particularly crafting questions and prompts in AI that help achieve desired outcomes that are productive. And then we had Rafa Augustine, the author of The Legally Yours, back on campus, this time particularly working with faculty and staff and administrators on how to create a culture of care, and specifically focusing on enhancing students' success based on trauma-informed teaching theory and practice, and very, very clear hands-on experience being an undocumented student himself while he was at Mount SAC, and his journey and how that experience sort of informs how we would like us to engage our students at our institutions. A very well attended session, and kudos to our Professional Development Committee as well as to Brian Burns, who facilitates professional development for Moore Park College. You will be reviewing and approving Moore Park College's facilities vision plan, item 1505. I want to thank you for reviewing that, but more importantly, we do want to thank the members of our campus community who were involved in that process. Dr. Josefa Baca, Alyssa Beha from the zoo, Deb Brackley, Dr. Jennifer Clark, Matt Prater, Lynn Dobson, Dr. John Forbes, Dr. Norman Martin, Dr. Mahmoud Baga, Dr. Kristen Robinson, ASMC President Sean Roskoff, Facilities Director John Sonetko, and Jamie Whittington Studer, who is a faculty in communication studies as well as our PIO. This document is the river of love of a variety of members of our campus community, as well as partnerships with stakeholders in the community to give us a sense of where we want to be and what kind of environment we want to create for the future. We did this work in partnership with Gensler, and you will have Deb Shepley, Darren Atkinson here later on to sort of talk us through and give you a sense of what that dialogue looked like and how it informs the plan that you see in front of you. I also wanted to share with you that this past weekend, the Moore Park College Foundation had a retreat, its spring retreat. And the focus of that retreat was to look at how the foundation can better market itself and in particular, market the work that it does and help to generate sponsorship and support for student learning in our environment. Thank you to Diane McCabe from Mustang Marketing, who volunteered in her time to work with us over the course of that session. And the retreat ended with our foundation board members actually conducting a tour of our Equity Hub, which is very new to the campus, as well as our library and our engineering technology lab. That's all I have for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Oxnard College, Oscar.
I'm going to be very brief. First of all, I want to just mention that we're very proud to participate in the MLK March and presentation on Monday. So it was a beautiful event, a lot of community support, and it was wonderful to be out there supporting that event. Secondly, Oxnard College resubmitted a BA application for Bachelor of Arts for Applied Advocacy and Organizing. And that program will hopefully work with nonprofit leaders, local advocates, civic leaders to develop their skills, their leadership capacity, also learning different aspects of organizing. So it's getting a lot of support from local nonprofits and community organizations. We're hopeful it gets approved by the state. It does have a long road ahead, but we're hopeful it is approved by the state. The other thing I want to mention is Oxnard College was selected by the Aspen Institute and the Association of Public Colleges and Universities to participate in transfer intensive study. And this will be a semester-long study along with Kelsey Channel Islands to look at our transfer pathways and how we can break down some of the silos, some of the roadblocks in our transfer process. So I'm really excited about that. President Yao and myself will be required to attend 4 sessions and be very much a part of all the discussions. And we're hoping that we're going to bring our folks from Kelsey Channel Islands and Oxnard College at the CSU campus in the spring, late spring, to do a presentation on our findings. So we're really excited about this opportunity and thankful to Aspen for providing this opportunity. They will provide a data coach who will be joining us in all these meetings to help with the conversation and discussions, and working closely with our institutional research staff to also pull data to see where some of the trends. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Ventura College, Kim.
Hey. Thank you. Happy New Year and good evening. It's so good to be back. I want to let you know from Ventura College, we have some new deans. We have 3 deans that are out of the district. We have Jeff Alexander. He came from Pasadena City College, and he's over our student life areas, including athletics. So we're really excited to welcome him to our BC pirate ship, as we call it. We have Kenya Johnson, who is part of our VCEC campus, and she has a fabulous background. We're really excited for her to work with us and the community, and she comes from Antelope Valley College. And we have Tony Mansueto, who has experience in Texas, and I got to cheat and look, Texas and Alaska and Pennsylvania, and now will be joining us in California. So we're really excited. He'll be working with our Division of Behavioral and Social Sciences. So that is good news. And then we also have a promotion from within, so a familiar face that you all know. Nina Brown is our new full-time dean over our math and English and Comm Studies. So we're really excited to have Nina on our team full-time. She was an interim dean for a couple of semesters prior to getting the permanent job. Also, we had a great welcome back time. We had a welcome back for employees with a little food to help us have the energy and everything we need to make sure our students are excited about college and get everything that they need and show them around. We had welcome back tables, and everybody loves to to have a shift at the welcome back tables to help students find their classroom or whatever other things that they might need, and give them a t-shirt. They always like that so that they can hopefully feel welcomed and belong. You'll see also in my report, there's a facilities update. There's a lot of things going on. Our facilities maintenance operations are very, very busy. And so we're excited about some of those updates and improvements. I did want to let you know, President Huff and I meet regularly, and I do appreciate, and he's given me the feedback that he provided to the board tonight. We have just a little background. Our health science coordinator, our student health coordinator, retired at the end of, I think, July. And during that period of time, we opened up the search, and we had to extend it once. We failed it another time. So we're in our third round of searching, and we have everyone, knock on wood, we're moving forward with that one. And so I'm hoping to have that position filled soon. And Oxnard College was the benefit. We had a nurse practitioner in addition to our student health coordinator, and she's now the student health coordinator of Oxnard College. So during this period of time, both Oxnard College and Moore Park College have been very helpful in serving our students. We haven't we do have services to students. They're just not as robust as they have been when we do have a full-time nurse practitioner on staff. We do have medical doctors on campus on Wednesdays, as President Huff mentioned. We also can help our students with first aid and emergency response team. And the most important thing I would say is we have full services in mental health, which is also part of our student health fee and very important, as all of you've known and heard for many, many years. So those are some of the things. We're looking forward, though, to having that role filled by a full-time faculty member, a student health coordinator. And so wish us luck in those interviews. And then the last thing I just wanted to mention is, and embarrass her, I'm glad she's here, as Ann Paul King was recognized by the Pacific Coast Business Time as the who's in nonprofits and foundations. So we're really proud of Ann and love working with her. So that's it for my report this evening.
I often see Ann's name getting this recognition or the next recognition. So keep up the good work, Ann. That brings us now to item 608, Moore Park College Aspen report. Julius.
So my vice presidents are going to join me in this presentation. As you know, all three colleges from our district have been identified as Aspen 150 institutions. That is a unique position to be in, and it's a credit to this college district, its students, and the communities that we serve. Every 2 years, the Aspen Institute for College Excellence identifies those 150 colleges, and those colleges are identified as exemplar of college excellence. From 150, it's whittled down to 25. Those 25 institutions are then whittled down to 10. Those 10 institutions are experience a day-long interview with a team from Aspen. And at the end of the process, Aspen institution or institutions as it was this year is identified. After the process is completed, and this is an 18-month process, the 10 institutions that are finalists are provided a feedback report. And that feedback report is an attempt not only to help those colleges continue the exemplary work that they're doing, but it gives them very directed and pointed feedback and opportunities for growth. Next slide, please. So what you have, do we have the next slide?
Do we have the slides?
Okay. Okay, thank you. So we're here to share with you today are examples from the report from Aspen. First of all, we'll identify the areas of the criteria for evaluation. The report is organized according to the following assessment criteria: teaching and learning, completion, transfer, slide 2, workforce, there it is, access for success, and equity in student success. So those are the areas that the institutions are evaluated, and the 10 institutions then receive reports based on those, on how we're doing it on those areas. What we will be sharing with you today is we're going to identify the strengths and the opportunities, but we're not going to talk through all of them. We'll just identify the areas which we as an institution are focused on responding to, particularly those areas for growth. And we'll share with you in some instances what we're doing or what we've done since the Aspen visit and the Aspen report. So it's very focused around just those elements. So our next slide, please. Okay, so in terms of teaching and learning, you'll see that we've identified the strengths that Moorpark College has in terms of all our faculty candidates participate in a hiring in a teaching demonstration. So that's not unique to Moorpark, actually, that's across our district. And then the fact that we involve our faculty over the first 4 years of their experience at the college in a rigorous feedback process. In particular, the area for growth or the opportunity for growth that they've identified in terms of teaching and learning, I'll focus on the one around they request that we broaden regular data analysis on teaching and learning beyond course success rates to include success in learning outcomes, program completion rates, and post-graduation rates in workforce and transfer, all disaggregated by race, income, gender, and gender. It's not to say we're not doing that. What they're asking us to do is to scale that up so that is more, that shows more of a commitment to looking at data, particularly data that has to do with workforce. It also, they're encouraging us to focus on post-graduation success. You know, we emphasize access to the institution, we emphasize completion, and Aspen is asking that Aspen colleges focus on post-graduation success. How do our students do when they leave us? How do they do at the transfer institution? How do they do in the workplace? And not just in terms of how they do in terms of salary, but how they do in terms of their competencies. So Moorpark College is investing in doing that work. Part of that investment is to engage in faculty-to-faculty conversations so we get a better sense of how our receiving institutions are experiencing our students, and that data can then be reinvested into our program design or program redesign. A very concrete example of the work we're doing with data is our partnership with Cal State University Channel Islands, where we're gathering data from them. Actually, they're sharing that with all 3 colleges, gathering data from them on how our students do there when they transfer. And they then look at how they do in comparison to other students who are coming from community colleges. And then we take that data and further input it into our delivery of instruction and services. So that is the recommendation they've made and our approach or our attempts at addressing those recommendations. I'm going to pass it on to Dr. John Forbes, who will talk to the criteria of completion.
Excellent. And one of the themes that we want in today's 10 minutes together is to recognize also how these, kudos, but also opportunities of growth align with what the board is charged with overseeing the entire district. And some of the actions that we take, for example, the slide that we just were on, some of that tenure review process, that's part of the faculty process at every single one of our colleges, is that you have that rigorous 4 years of a tenure review with 5 individuals that are helping that process. So that's one element. So the next slide, please. I have the privilege of talking about, should be up there, completion. And so they found strengths in terms of our program maps, the proactive support, and that is something that Moorpark College took an investment in early on in the guided pathways process. And my colleague, Kushner Databoy, is here to jump into that piece.
Good evening, everyone. Sorry for being late. In terms of completion, Mopa College has moved ahead at a very great pace. We have created program maps for every single program that we have. And we make sure that every incoming first-time freshman gets a program map when they come in. So this fall, every single freshman did get a program map based on their area of interest. If they didn't have an area of interest and were still exploring, we made sure that we contacted those students and made sure that they chose a program of study. Because as you all are aware of, if a student doesn't choose the program of study, they do not get financial aid. Our meta majors or our areas of interest are very, very successful. We have 8 of them, and all of them have a dean, a counselor lead, a faculty lead, an instructional faculty lead, a classified staff lead, and a financial aid person who leads the team. And so with that, it has given us opportunities to have higher success rates. For example, this past semester, 48% approximately of our students attempted math, and 53% of our students attempted English. What opportunities do we have for growth? One of the things that Aspen brought out is, how do you know if a student has a program map that they have completed their map or completed the units that they're supposed to complete? And we are looking into finding new software where we can do that and follow up with students in order to make sure that they have completed in a timely manner. If you look at the graph, the second graph in terms of credentials, Mopa College, we are at 51%, and the average finalist was at 54%. So we have a little bit more work to do in that area, which we are pursuing on a daily basis. Any questions?
So the next slide, please, takes us to transfer. And so this is an area that we know that Moore Park College has shined statewide. We're consistently on the Campaign for College Opportunity list for the percentage of ADTs awarded per 100 FTESs. So Aspen also cares about that. ADT is a uniqueness to California, but Aspen, as it looks at best practices across the nation, recognizes that if you can decrease the number of units that someone earns prior to transfer, that then maximizes the completion then in the 4-year degree. And so, as mentioned in some of the strengths, Julius talked about the Channel Islands connection, and they really, Aspen kind of validated that and saying that is a great partnership, keep it up. That's the best practice. Opportunities for growth and transfer, really they're holding us to the highest standard. And over multiple meetings, we heard, what do you make unavoidable for your students? And that really was a challenge, because it's not just about a single program or multiple single programs to target student populations, but what is it that we make unavoidable that anyone walking on our campus is an experience in that? And so they encourage us to design advising to ensure that students make those decisions on transfer destinations and majors prior to the 30 credits to, again, maximize what they're earning and not duplicating and maybe taking unnecessarily units in that. And so there actually has been quite a bit of work in that area since Aspen visited and pointed some of that out. So if you want to talk about that.
Yeah. So one of the things Aspen pointed out was the number of educational plans we had for our students, and whether we had enough educational plans for all the incoming students. And so what we did immediately last spring, that is spring of 2023, after Aspen visited us, we pulled the data on all students that did not have an educational plan but had 30 units, and we started working backwards. That means if you had 30 units, we made sure that we called you in, we texted the students, we emailed the students, called them into the counseling office to make sure that they had a completed ed plan. We also went a little further into our DI populations. We have identified our Black students, males and females, and our Latinx students males and females as our DI populations. And with that, we reached out specifically to those students. Hopefully in the next 3 or 4 weeks, we should have data to tell us where we are with those educational plans and with the momentum points that we are looking at in terms of transfer.
Great. Next slide. Labor market. So this is going to look very similar to some of the board goals and some of the goals of our Chancellor Rick McLennan. But career preparation in high school is aligned with the college's curriculum programs. They recognize that we have strong relationships in the biotechnology program, and we're impressed with those connections that we've made. So that shouldn't be a secret to anyone in this room. And then the opportunities for growth, they really wanted to see that go, that second bullet point in particular, categories, program enrollments by post-completion wages, define strategies for either increasing those earning potential for programs that currently lead to more lower wages or shifting students. And so it's really putting a magnifying glass on what is it that students really have in hand, skill-wise and degree-wise, that's going to make a difference in your community. And are you shifting fast enough to what our workforce demands are? So it's a high bar, and that's what they called out. Next slide. And was that your slide? That was Jennifer's slide. Do you want to jump into this? We thought we had this plan. All right. This is your slide, I think. Access for success, partnering with the high school, dual enrollment. So not a secret.
Okay. So as we know, our chancellor has made dual enrollment a priority, and so has the state chancellor's office. So in terms of dual enrollment, we are working extremely hard with our high school partners. We are working hard with Dr. Herrera and her team, who is assigned to work on dual enrollment. And we're making sure that the programs that we offer in our high schools now have a pathway for stackable units. So we're very close to getting that done. The high school at Moorpark College is already doing that. This is the first year the high school at Moorpark College this academic year had 2 classes, two freshman classes, 2 ninth grade classes that they were able to fill. We work with Conejo Valley, with Simi Valley, and with Oak Park Unified School Districts, and then any other private schools that might come to us. But if we look at it in terms of future, in terms of everything that we're doing, the access to education from high school all the way through the 2 years of community college, and then another 2 years is transfer. So we're looking at the whole K-16 picture, plus transferring to a 4-year institution. Opportunities for growth. We have a lot of opportunities for growth in this area. To create stronger partnerships with our high schools, make sure that we do have stackable certificates that or low unit certificates that we are offering students that stack one on top of each other, and then move on to getting an associate's degree and then transfer. And I think with the biotechnology, we are hoping to do that right from
Excellent. And our, I think our next slide, please. The last category there was equity and student success. So again, they found strengths that we use those flipped classrooms. I think that's what they were calling, but hybrid. So as we came out of the pandemic, leveraging the best modalities for what our students need to succeed, and scaled developmental educational reforms. That's the AB 705 and our compliance towards that. So that's not the same way across the whole nation. And so our level of really looking at transfer level and making sure students are enrolled in that, they called out as important. Opportunities for growth, you'll see a common theme here of that second bullet point, really disaggregating student outcomes at every level. And I know what I've heard from the board over and over again of how important that is. And so there's an alignment here between what Aspen pushes us for and what you are asking of us and of your chancellor as we serve students. That's that slide. Next slide. I'll turn it back over to Julius to round us off.
Thank you so much. Again, our I guess, marching orders from Aspen is to design for access, to design for persistence and completion, and to focus our energy in combining those two in addition to post-graduation success. It requires then that we not only exist as an island, but that we're integrating our work with our K-12 partners, with our university partners, with our business and industry partners, and that we prepare students, and this is sometimes now sort of a cliche, but it's the whole notion of cradle to career, and that cradle to career not just be providing student opportunities for careers, but opportunities for careers that are in credentials that have value. And that we do that with a strong understanding that those credentials are a statement about equity, that our students do not end up being in silos, and that those silos help to support the growth in our community. I'm going to sort of end there and see if there are any questions that you have for us or any comments, and we appreciate your attention.
Are there any immediate questions? Or comments? Trustee Torres?
Thank you for all of the hard work. I know that there's a lot of preparation, and actually, as I was reading the report, I was really happy because it's a lot of the work that when we just know this is the right thing, before even looking at Aspen, I mean, having this conversation for our district, we've been at least since I've been on the board since 2018. And to actually see, wow, this is what Aspen is saying, this is what's needed to drive the work in equity. And it's really, it really warms my heart, because when I say that we can drive, I mean, we can really drive this work at the state level, I really mean it, because everybody here has those innovative thoughts. And when I was reading this report and listening to you present, this is what it's all about. And it's great to be able to see that we're doing the work, the commitment, and how everybody comes together, from faculty, from classified staff, from administrators, to really bring this success. And I appreciate so much when we look at the strengths, we celebrate the areas that we are really proud of, the opportunities for growth, areas that we've identified. Okay, these are areas that we're going to continue to strengthen. And what I love about the report is that we are being very specific, that we just don't have things by chance, but we know exactly what we're doing to be successful. And it's not just like, I don't know. And when you have those circles of practice, it's really equity in instruction and what we do in student support services, in health. And so when I was looking over this report, it was, I mean, congratulations to the work that everybody is doing and your commitment. And in presenting, I know every time you're going to put together a presentation for the board, you're thinking, okay, what do they want to hear? I have to limit the time. I don't want to bore them. What exactly should I present? So I know that just putting this together for the board is a lot of work. And thank you very much for just all of the work you're doing. It's really appreciated. It's noticed. And I'm so looking forward to just the great work that you're doing in your college, but also across Oxnard College as well as Ventura. I know this is Moore Park, but I was really happy to hear just the other colleges is talk about, I think Oxnard, you mentioned you're going to be pursuing perhaps a BA and doing some organizing work and see where that goes, and having that innovative thought of organizing what it looks like. In the Ventura College, all of the efforts and everything driving where we're going to be equitable and bringing services to all of our different, all of our really students everywhere. So I'm excited of the work. And I know as the board, this really helps us as we're going to be looking into our strategic goals. What does it look like? What do we have to do at the board level? How do we support you in this work? I know some of our board members are going to be going to Washington in February to advocate for our district, and having this presentation allows them to be empowered to go and meet with Congress really when they go in February. And also, I think some of our board members are also going at the state level in Sacramento at the end of the month to also do some lobbying. So thank you very much for also equipping us, because this is what it's about. These are our needs, and we continue to do that lobbying work. So thank you very much.
Anyone else? If not, oh, Trustee Chancellor.
Thank you for the thorough report. I don't want to repeat anything that Trustee Torres mentioned, but I want to say thank you for like shining the lights bright on the opportunities for growth. You know, at the board level, we get a lot of data and reports, but this was really clear for us to really get behind the organization, the college, Moore Park in this particular case, and to know exactly what you're working on. I suppose my question is, this was for a prize, and you guys were one of the 10 finalists and got close. I think you went to the ceremony. Yeah. So this was like a follow-up So my question is, this feels a little different than student success, the funding formula, or even accreditation, where there's recommendations and actions that quote unquote need to occur. This is sort of the way I read it is they're asking for feedback. Where's the buy-in in the organization or the college itself? Because this was for, I don't want to call it a contest, but an award to really make sure that these opportunities for growth, you know, the light stays on those. And this actually is something that moves the college and the organization itself.
Yeah, so when the Aspen folks came to visit, one of the points we wanted to make really clear to them is that we're not doing this for the prize. That really this is part of our college culture, and that the true prize is the success of our students and generations of students and their families and their success. And so then they ask us, then how do you institutionalize this, right? Which is, I think, is the question you're asking. And part of that is what is the work that we're doing with professional development so that we can create a culture where curriculum design is really looking at access, persistent, post-graduation success. What is the work that we're looking at in terms of the services that we deliver and how are we delivering those services and how do we design those services? So part of the work now as an institution, and you can kind of see it here, is we're integrating some of these into very specific projects, into very specific grant opportunities, into very specific communities of practice for our faculty and our staff. We're doing Caring Campus as a result of this investigation so that we know how we can best serve, everyone can best be invested in serving the student right from when they come in through the door. So that's one of the ways in which we're doing this. We're holding ourselves accountable to more than the prize. Ultimately, it's how do we better serve our students and how's that reflected in their success metrics.
That is, as we're a multi-college district, I'll just put it out there. I mean, this seems like such an advantage that Moore Park College has from our sister colleges of Oxnard and Ventura with this sort of findings of data or this request for information. Is there I'm just curious if there's an opportunity for our other colleges to get some immediate feedback in a clear form that they also can, and I'm not saying they're not working on similar things, but that was a question that I had. I guess I'll take the positive road, the advantage that Moore Park College is getting by receiving this sort of feedback or information. So
let me just offer a quick response. Number one, sometime back, we were all provided a copy of Moore Park College's Aspen application, and I would ask the chancellor to have that resent because I think it's great reading and it helps put in even greater context a lot of the information we've heard tonight. And, you know, even having gone to Washington, D.C., a great honor, along with the chancellor, to see the award ceremony. There's nothing like, you know, firsthand viewing. And as Julius and his team were giving the reports, in my own mind, I was thinking how closely were Oscar and Kim listening and taking notes. So I'm sure, and in previous meetings, I've asked the question, when any one of the three colleges highlight a best practice activity at their campus, I've asked, is that being shared with the other sister colleges? And the answer is always yes. So I'm sure your question is will be answered in the affirmative, but I'll leave that to any one of you three to respond to Trustee Chancellor's question. Or the chancellor, okay.
But just a couple thoughts. One of the reasons, probably the main reason that President Sokanu and I discussed this presentation tonight was it really provides a clearer example of how the institutions work on things, evaluate those things, and make improvements. And when you look at, you mentioned accreditation, one of the basic principles of the accreditation process around institutional effectiveness is do something, measure it, and make changes based on the assessment. How focused that is, whether it's through an IEPI process, equity in action, our EEO program, the work we do there, the TRIO programs, they all have these evaluative aspects to them. That's just a sort of tip of the iceberg. I thought this would be a good example of really showing the board, because we've had these conversations about data and student success and how do we know we're doing these things. I did send to the board probably a year or so ago all of the Aspen applications that I reviewed when I came on board. I think it would be useful for the board to see this round of Aspen applications again. So we'll make sure we get those to you. They're all very much pointed in the same direction, differently, but similarly to where Moorpark's going. So, I mean, it's a good question. They do have this advantage of getting into this loop of professional institutional mentorship in a way that the other two institutions don't have access to, although Oxnard, you just got pulled into an Aspen study that you mentioned around transfer. So we are taking advantage of these things where we can, but the biggest thing I wanted the board to see is that this is really one example of that iterative process of planning, evaluating, and making improvements directed squarely at student success. So, but I appreciate your comments because it's happening on a wide scale.
Yeah, and again, I just, the report, not to compare, but it was just really helpful for me anyways. And I also think it's important to acknowledge a lot of the opportunities for growth that you all shared, bullet by bullet, ironically, were like line item to some of the information that you've been requesting over the years, so I found that I almost read it as if you were on the Aspen team, so I just wanted to mention that, but I appreciate all of, I just really appreciate the report. Thank you.
I will take a day off. This is my interest and this is my passion, and when we look at how are we going to maintain this for our community, for our students, this is it. And so if there's ever an opportunity, I would love as a board member to this part of the process. And I'd like to share this is good at a board level, very agenda, but sometimes the board members need to have additional things that make and I'm glad and I'm so happy that the answer after this time, because it's very much aligned to everything that we should forever since I've been a board member. So I really appreciate it very much, Rick, for being able to bring this. And I look forward to hearing more from our different projects because I know that you provide us the report, but I know sometimes she's a little bit more expensive on things. So it's a lot of like documents that I'm during our club. For you to also have the opportunity to come and share something that you want to highlight. Thank you very much. And I think that is the meeting.
Thanks again, everybody, and keep up the good work, all three of you colleges. That brings us to 609 board committee reports. We have the Administrative Services Committee report. Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
Sorry.
please keep going. I think it's my turn. You're teeing it up.
Trustee Mantooth was the chair of that last. Meeting.
Yeah, we, as we mentioned many times, Trustee Torres and I act as a tag team as co-chairs for this committee. But I do want to back up just a bit. I want to rewind to express my appreciation to the presenters for bringing again to reminding us the confluence between what is happening at our colleges and what this board wants to see, and our board's strategic direction and how we're following that and how we're engaged in it and how the work, it just doesn't end. You may get a prize for that at some point along the journey, but it never ends. You just keep going. Back to the Admin Services Committee, we met on December 20th, spent most of our time receiving information about the annual audit, not only of the district, but of the three foundations at our three colleges, each of which were done by a different audit firm, respectively. And we're going to hear more about that tonight, as well as some personnel matters, a couple of policies that are included in the minutes in the packet, and that you will see in our agenda tonight. And I want to reiterate again what I said at the meeting, what a pleasure it was to work with Trustee Torres this past year, and how much I'm looking forward to working with Trustee Chancellor on the Admin Services Committee, and we're meeting again next week. Yeah. So thank you.
All right, thank you. That takes us then to approval of the consent calendar, and we have one item that has been pulled, and that is item 10.05. So is there 10.04? Okay, not 05. Okay. Well, he's correcting. Okay. 10.04. Okay. So with that accepted item, is there a motion to approve the consent calendar through item 12.04? Trustee Torres moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Student trustee seconds. Student trustee. I
I
presume.
had a
right?
comment.
That's right.
Thank you. On the, gosh, I believe the purchase orders, I was, happy to see at Ventura College, the Wi-Fi, let's see, it was, purchase order, not that anyone cares, 135693, but Wi-Fi and network improvements for equipment and financial aid office and computer lab. I received a couple of complaints in that area of just needing to get on the Wi-Fi and some challenges there. So it's great to see that be taken care of. So I just want to mention that.
Thank you. Student trustee, how do you vote?
Aye.
And board, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Trustee Chancellor, item 10.04.
Thank you. And I apologize for not getting this question in, but I received a question in regards to our surplus vehicles. Are those usually sent out to auction or do we just donate those? And if a response needs to come later in the week, that's fine. I just received that question. I want to make sure I asked it.
It actually depends on the fair market value of the said vehicles. For the 4 vehicles listed on today's 10.04 item, they're all ranging from $150 to $2,300 in fair market value based on Kelly Blue Book. There is the district believes the actual value that we'd get at a public sale would be significantly lower for each of the 4 vehicles, given their condition. So the vehicles, following our administrative procedure, we're actually going to dispose of them. So that would entail towing the vehicle to Oxnard College's fire academy. And that's no cost to the district once the students complete their hands-on training at the fire academy. The tow company will take it for scrap metal, again, at no cost to the district for the tow.
And with that, I'm happy to make a motion for 10.04. And thank you for the thorough information.
Thank you. Is there a second? Trustee Torres seconds. Student trustee, how do you vote?
Aye.
And board, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. That takes us to item 13.01, action to approve trustee representation on the general obligation bond executive steering advisory group. Chancellor?
No, okay, that's, Chair President, I'm gonna turn this one back over to you.
Okay, I only thought you might have wanted Lisa Putnam, who's point person, but I could.
No, that's a fair point. Dr. Putnam, would you like to set this up?
All right, I was still looking here at the agenda. Did we skip the minutes? Approving the minutes? Thank you.
Thank you.
So for, to describe the executive team, the intent of this team is to create a group of individuals representing each of the constituents in the bond project. So we have 2 representatives from each campus. We have 3 individuals from the district office, and we are seeking 1 or 2 individuals from the trustees. And this is to create a communication flow. So that the information is flowing between this executive group and all of our constituents and the consulting team and bringing information back and forth. So this group meets, the bond group that the consultants were using, our time to meet is Mondays from 11 until noon. And we tend to meet with them every other week with the small group, just making sure that things keep moving forward. And then this executive team will come in and meet as needed, but typically between 4 and 6 weeks. But it kind of depends on the timeline of where we are with the bond project. So the first meeting is scheduled for Monday, the 29th or 30th, 29th.
29th.
And that is to receive the report from our polling. So the polling report will be made available to us and the pollsters will go through that information during this particular meeting. And then that way, the individuals in that meeting can share back here at the, to answer any questions that might arise with the trustees.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
That's good. And again, there's no decision-making authority required or given amongst this group. It's the, if I may say, it's the consultants work group, if you will.
Correct.
And
Correct.
so this just would be helpful to promote, as Lisa mentioned, communication back to the board and then with the benefit of having board representation.
And it will not replace the meetings where we will have information shared
Right.
with the board as a whole. So we will still have the polling information shared at the February board meeting, but it'll be better informed based on these conversations with the consulting team.
So I would like to start off the conversation, which is not my usual MO here, but I would, as chair, I would certainly like to participate as one of the 2 trustee reps to this group. And this is before us because there was board interest in having discussion as to how the selection would be made if we're going to have 2 trustees. So Trustee Torres, do you have any comments, or Trustee Chancellor, Trustee Lichtel? Do we have? Sure.
I don't know if there's a trustee that's interested. I think as chair, I think it's appropriate for you to be part of the bond if you have the time to be able to be part of it and just be in the meetings and just inform us. And I, for myself, I'm not a board member who wants to be on the team. I don't have the time. I think the times and with my work commitment, and I think it's just somebody that's able to, especially because the work has to go fast and whenever people can meet. So for those reasons, it's a reason why I wouldn't be one to be in the committee, but I think it's nice to hear if there's an interest from a board member who would be interested in being part of the committee. I think it'd be great if there was somebody to join you. So from the board level, you have somebody to also talk to and then present information, or in a given time, if for some reason a trustee isn't able to be present, there's somebody else that was there. So so that's my
Okay. Well,
comment.
thank you for that.
Chair Perez,
Trustee Bantu.
I would be willing to serve as an alternate in the event that you are unable to make a meeting. And I don't know that I could be at every meeting and be a full participant, but I would offer that up unless one of my colleagues wants to do more time than that.
Okay, Trustee Lichtel.
Chair Perez, yes. Obviously an important committee and process for us as we explore the bond measure. As much as I would like to participate, that does run into my work schedule. I'm wondering though, if it's permissible and if it's practical, if the meetings could be held via Zoom or include a Zoom webinar component so that those of us that are at work that may be able to Zoom in and at least listen to the conversation would be able to do that. That may work for me for at least half of the meeting. So at least I get the gist of it. I hate to think that as the board chair that you get saddled with the responsibility, but we do appreciate you
Okay.
stepping forward, and it seems appropriate as the board chair. So thank you.
You know, Zoom is, I guess it's a love-hate kind of thing with Zoom. It does present an opportunity in this case, but I would be mindful and careful about, does that present a Brown Act situation of 3 or participating?
The meetings will be held by Zoom though.
Oh,
They're
okay.
all going to be on
Right.
Zoom.
But we'll look into the fact if observer role is possible, but good point.
Yeah, if it's run as a webinar,
Yeah.
then I think just about anybody could participate.
We'll
or
look
if it
into
includes
that.
Thank you.
Trustee Chancellor.
Just one thought. I mean, if we're asking for board representation here, I'm trying to strike that balance of seeking board support of when it's convenient, because we do have 3 trustees that have full-time jobs. So if the district is looking for some oversight or information from the board or advisory group, to me, it would make sense to lead with who's interested and then find the time to meet with board consensus. If it has to be at 11 to 12:30, you're taking 3 trustees right out of the running to even participate. That's thought number 1. Thought number 2 is I don't see students being involved in this particular group. So that would be another bullet that I'd like to seek representation from.
Station for engaging students, but at a different level. So the students, the consultants are going to be meeting with the student groups and talking to them to get feedback and information, but they are not being part of this particular team, because this team is talking about the marketing and then the nitty gritty kinds of information. So the student engagement will be done at a larger type of an event.
I don't want to speak for our student trustee, but we do have a student trustee on the board. And if we're seeking that voice, I would like to see representation at this particular group from the student boards. And I understand that there's other groups that they would be speaking directly to students, but as a peer or colleague on the board, to me, it seemed appropriate.
On the first point, the board role in this effort as a whole, and even as the trustee representatives to the group, as I understand it, is not one of oversight. Okay, we've hired professionals to undertake this effort, and this is their work group. And they're looking for membership to give them the maximum amount of insight into what they're doing. And Chancellor, I don't want to misspeak, so is that an appropriate response? Okay. So the day and the time of day is one that, as I understand it, works best for their effort. And it's not, I mean, yes, you're right. The practical consequence is 3 trustees find it difficult, if even possible, to participate on this day of the week and time of the week. But that's just, go ahead.
No, I think that's a valuable point. But at the end of the day, it's this board that decides whether this ends up on a ballot or not. So if we're looking for board involvement, let me put it to you this way. If we had 5 trustees that had full-time jobs, I don't think that this time would be offered. What would happen most likely is they'd say, well, we need trustee involvement. We have 5 trustees that work till this time. We're going to make it work. We need their involvement. So I'm just stating it, and I'm comfortable with Chair Perez, you serving on it, and Trustee Mantooth, and that works out great. You guys have expertise. You've gone through this before. You're in background. I'm comfortable with it. I'm just saying, as a practice, it doesn't sit well.
Okay. Well, I think one of the first 2 items that I and Trustee Mantooth will carry to this advisory group are those points, and then we'll flesh it out even more. So those are fair points. And Trustee Mantooth, just to clarify, I don't see your role as alternate. I see yours as that second trustee on this advisory group. And thank you for already acknowledging that you'll be at every meeting as well.
With the disclaimer that there may be meetings called and I will not be able to attend because of other commitments involving travel, that I have tried to build around not missing these board meetings.
Okay. Well, with that, then the consensus is that trustee Mantooth and I will be the board's representatives on this advisory group.
I have time for it.
I'm sorry.
Well, I should have asked it to everybody. Is it appropriate for our student trustee to also be involved?
Well, to be involved, yes, and we're going to determine to what extent.
On this committee?
That's what I'm saying. We just don't have the answer tonight and how. Dr. Putnam spoke to that earlier. And if you want to reiterate that question that the consultants were
He's not making decisions. This committee is serving as a communication between the colleges and the consultants, as well as from the board to the consultants. So information is going to be presented to the board regularly, and decisions will be made regularly via that venue. And then students will be engaged on a larger scale through the work with the actual consultants. So this group is working with the receiving information, helping like again, for example, the polling group recognize what questions they should be prepared for when they present to the board as a whole in February. What questions might be coming up, what things might be of interest, where would we want to highlight? So it's really kind of guiding our consultants to be better at what they're presenting to you in their board meetings. Not having walked through all the steps, that's the only one, the example I have at this moment, because I know that that's being queued up.
trustee Mantooth.
I'm very eager to hear more from our student trustee about her desire to be the second member of this board that participates in the meetings. And if that is sufficiently strong, again, I would reiterate, I'd be happy to serve as an alternate so that we don't have any Brown Act issues and we have a very appropriate, we're making a very appropriate statement about the students' participation in their learning environment.
Student trustee.
I do have time for the committee. It would be 4 to 6 weeks on Monday. So yeah, I would have time for the meeting. I would just need a lot of support, making sure I do understand the material at hand.
Clarification from what I think I heard from you, it's not for 4 to 6 weeks. It would be meeting approximately every 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah. That's my understanding.
Trustee Torres.
I think from what trustee Chancellor was saying is really having the two trustees in addition to our student trustee to bring in the voice of the students at this committee level. And based on what I'm listening, it seems like it's going to be meeting not often. It's going to be really to craft questions for the board. And so I think our student trustee will be able to see the lens from the student trustee and will help the consultants and what would be something the board wants to hear. And so you hear from the two board members and we're thinking about okay, what would our specific districts perhaps want to know? And so let's address questions that address every single district that the trustees represent, because that's their constituency who might have questions. The student trustee is the student who's going to be looking holistically in terms of students. What is it students would want to know? And so I'm thinking having you in addition to two trustees just brings more diversity of thought and perspective to the polling consultants of what would be the questions that they can possibly think the board would have to better address them. And so I think doesn't have to be one or the other. I think it could be the two, because she's an advisory vote. She's not, so I think it wouldn't be a Brown Act violation if we have two trustees and then we have our student trustee being present to these meetings. I mean, that's my perspective that I think, and I think it would be very valuable. You can certainly be part of the other consultants who are doing the work and meeting with the different individuals and with students to try to get a sense of where should they go, who should they speak to. But then there's this other ones that are drafting more the questions to us. So I think you have a place if you have the time for both of the different platforms.
I don't have the answer as if two trustees along with the student trustee constitutes a risk of Brown Act compliance or not. I don't know.
Well,
Well, and
well, I believe this wouldn't be a Brown Act meeting because it's an advisory group and no formal decisions would be made. So I don't think it'd be a violation.
well, I mean, you know, Brown Act violations happen outside of regular meetings all the time.
Chair Perez,
Trustee
I
Matthew.
would not feel comfortable moving forward with that configuration unless we had a positive opinion from legal counsel. Because it's not just what kind of meeting it is, but what does the content of that meeting lead to in terms
Right.
of a later decision would be the Brown Act issue.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate the comments looking for student participation. I mean, that's, you know, to hold my own self accountable, we all profess students first and having student voice represented. So that's a fair point that you raised. Maybe we'll try to,
Well, I'll be happy to connect with Lisa and the chancellor about this later on.
on which?
With Lisa and the chancellor?
Yeah. Okay.
And figure out something.
Well, let's leave it at this point then that myself, along with trustee Mantu, are the board's representatives to this advisory group. And as I said earlier, we will carry this specific question to that group and to the consultancy. Maybe they've had student representation on other groups and maybe they just didn't include it in this one. So that would be the simplest. So trustee Torres.
Just so we understand it's on the record, are we still going to look and consult with legal counsel if it would be okay if we were to have run this advisory group?
Yes, we would have to, because if we're going to pursue the possibility, we'd have to have that answer.
Okay. Okay. So we will have an answer, Damaris, if you're able, through legal counsel.
Okay, thank you. That takes us to item 1302, action to approve teacher leave reimbursement to Oxnard Union High School District for a substitute for trustee Joss Chancellor.
The last item was
Oh.
an action item. Do we need to take a vote on it?
I had asked earlier, board consensus can suffice, but we'll take, to be true to the agenda item. Do we have a motion
Not clear on what we're voting for.
to
Assign.
to appoint myself and trustee Mantooth as the board's representatives to this advisory group and to pursue the possibility of
Having a
adding the student trustee to the group.
I kind of thought what I heard is it would be Chair Perez. Second trustee would be our student trustee. Alternative would be trustee Mantu. Is that not what we kind of came up with?
That's actually what came out of my mouth.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So I think it all depends on how the motion is made. I take it to a formal vote, then you would make a motion along those lines.
I will make a motion, trustee or Chair Perez to be our board committee steering advisory group member with, student trustee being the second trustee on the advisory committee with trustee Mantooth serving as the alternate.
I'll second that.
And just a clarification based on the discussion, that's subject to the permissibility. Oh, no, never mind. Never mind. You said you made a good motion. Sorry. Right. Yes, that's,
May I suggest
Yeah.
that something like this could come up again
Yeah.
with regard to some other initiative or action or activity of this board. So it'd be a good idea to solicit an opinion
okay.
in general.
And I know if I may.
Wait, we have a motion, if I may be, is there a second before we
It's true, you
continue?
second it.
Trustee Mantooth. Okay, trustee Torres.
And that's a good point because in the some of the committees we did have in the past, our student trustee participate in the standing committees of the board, and at times they would sit in. And so we did have that in the past. So which would be the same as what Damaris is saying, being part of this. And in those standing committees, we're actually talking about things that are going to be coming to the board. Which is different from this advisory committee. So it's good to ask and get an opinion because in other circumstances, we've had our student trustee joined some of the standing committees that we've had in the past.
Okay, we have a motion. Student trustee, how do you vote?
Aye.
And board, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you. Item 14, board policies. 1401, action to approve board policy. Oh,
13.02.
yeah, that's right. That's right. Excuse me. I wrote my motion on the wrong item. Okay, so I called out the agenda item. Thank you. Is there a second? I heard trustee Lichtel. Student trustee, how do you vote?
Aye.
Board, all in favor? Aye. And none opposed. Thank you. Somebody call him back? Okay. Okay, now 1401, action to approve board policy 6330. Okay. Who is, I'm good, is,
Okay, you'd like a background or a presentation on this?
well, I'll ask the board if there are no questions or comments. Is somebody ready to make a motion? Thank you. And is there a second? Second. Trustee Lichtel seconds. And having heard no questions or comments, student trustee, how do you vote?
Aye.
And board, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carries. Thank you. Item 1402. Action to approve board policy 7270, student workers. And again, thank you.
Second.
Student trustee seconds. And if there are no questions or comments, trustee Chancellor.
This comes to us every time we have a statutory increase in the minimum wage. And in the past, I've always voted no because I've had the belief that we can afford more for our student workers. In this particular case, it's nice to see that the other classifications also increased. But they have no way in shape or form increased at the same rate as our other labor groups. I know this isn't necessarily a represented labor group, but when I do look at our ending fund balance and reserves and other financial documents, I do think we can afford a larger increase. So I just, for the record, I support student worker increase, but I think we can afford more, so I won't be in support of this increase.
Okay. Student trustee, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Board, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? No. Thank you. Motion carries. That brings us to 1501. Action to approve acceptance of the audited financial statements for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2023. Chancellor?
Thank you. I'm going to ask Emily Day, who's sitting in for Kathy Boharkis, to lead off.
Good evening, trustees and Chancellor McLennan. I'd like to introduce Bill Roush. He'll be joining us via Zoom as the audit partner with the district's external audit firm, Eide Bailey, to present comments on the district's comprehensive annual audit for 2022, 2023. Bill, are you with us?
I am. Can everybody hear me? Can everybody hear me okay?
We see your screen and we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Hear us okay? We can hear you fine.
Okay, perfect. Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here this evening to present the audit results of the June 30th, 2023 audit of the Ventura County Community College District. My name again is Bill Roush. I'm the audit partner with Eide Bailey. I did have the opportunity to go over these results with a committee, I want to say back in December before the holidays in detail. But this evening, I want to just go over one page that I think is very significant and important and really gives a good flavor of how the district did on their audit for the last fiscal year ended June 30th, 2023. This is on page 92 of the audit report, and it is called the Summary of Auditors' Results. As auditors, we're required to come in and give 3 opinions. And basically, there's 3 opinions that we give. The first opinion is over the financial statements. The second opinion is over the federal awards of all the federal dollars received. And the last opinion is on state monies received from the chancellor's office. The first opinion that we gave on the financial statement is called an unmodified opinion, which you'll see right here. That is called a clean opinion. That's the highest level of assurance that we can give as auditors. That basically states that the financial statements are presented fairly in all material respects in accordance with accounting principles. Why is this opinion important? The accreditation teams, as they come out to look at your financial statements, this is the opinion that they go to. They want to make sure that the funds of the district are being spent appropriately. Also, as you go out for bond rating agencies, they look at this opinion and they want to make sure too that all these monies are being spent in accordance with accounting principles. And so again, very important opinion, unmodified, highest level of assurance that we could give as auditors. Next, you'll note here, it says no, there were no material weaknesses identified and there was no significant deficiencies identified, which is great. And again, there was no non-compliance, which is outstanding. People always ask me, is this very common in community colleges? And I will say giving an unmodified opinion is very common. What I will say, which is not, is that one other thing I wanted to mention is that we had no audit adjustment. So that is not common amongst a lot of the audits that we do. We always have audit adjustments. So I'm happy to report that the 311 that was provided back to the board back in November time period, that we were able to take those numbers, be able to vouch all those numbers on the balance sheet into the revenues and expenditures, and we had no audit adjustments. And so again, that's something I wanted to know. The next opinion that we give is over the federal awards that the district receives. The district received approximately about $64.2 million of federal awards during the fiscal year 2023, and we were required to audit, as you'll see here in the middle of the page, the COVID-19 higher education emergency relief funds, the student aid, the minority serving institutions, and the institutional portion. That totaled approximately about $16.9 million. And also a big chunk of your federal monies received is about $41 million in the form of student financial assistance. That goes back to students in the form of Pell Grants, FSEOG funds, and other financial assistance monies. So we were required to audit about $57.9 million out of the $64.2 million received by the district. That's about 90% of the dollars we were audited. I'm happy to report that we did have an unmodified opinion. So which again is the highest level assurance that we can give, that the financial statements over the federal dollars are materially correct in accordance with accounting principles. We had no material weakness. We did identify one finding over the student financial aid cluster that's in the back of the audit report. And that was required to be reported in the audit report just because it's either you're in compliance or you're not for that particular program. However, the good note is that even though with the one finding, even though it was an error that we found, and since management has corrected that error in regards to enrollment reporting, and it's been uploaded back and corrected, we still had a noted as a finding in the audit report, but management has already taken corrective action to do that. So we were still able to issue an unmodified opinion. Again, the highest level of assurance that we could give over federal awards. And then the last opinion that we give is over state compliance. The Chancellor's Office every year has a list of requirements that we're required to look at in the form of dual enrollment, scheduled maintenance program, attendance, Proposition 1D and 51 state bonded funded projects, student rep fees, state fiscal recovery funds, COVID-19 block expenditures. And I'm happy to report that of all those areas of compliance that we had to look at, we had no areas of non-compliance for state programs, which is, again, is something to be very proud of. So again, as you'll see here, we were able to issue an unmodified opinion, which again is the highest level assurance that we can give over state compliance. So those are the three opinions that we gave. They were all three were unmodified. Like I said, something to be very proud of. And that is my report for the district's audit report for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2023. And I'd be happy to answer any questions anybody might have at this time.
Any questions from the board? None? Okay, thank you. Is there a motion from the board? Well, or do we want to hear the other items first? I'm sorry.
I'll move acceptance of the audited financial statements for fiscal year ending 30th, 2023.
And is there a second? Trustee Chancellor seconds. Okay. Are there any comments? Thank you for the excellent report. I'm thanking the auditor, but I in fact should be thanking the college teams for providing the work that ends up with such glowing reports, in my view. So, I understood that motion to incorporate. I'm sorry, I'm blending.
It was only
1501. Thank you. Getting ahead of myself here. Okay. Student trustee, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Board of Trustees, all in favor? Aye. Thank you. Motion carries. That then does take us to 1502. Chancellor?
Emily, you want to kick us off with this one as well? Thank you.
Absolutely. I want to congratulate all three college foundations for getting a clean audit opinion. That's the one we want. That's the, as Bill Roush communicated, that's the highest level of audit assurance there can be. Additionally, all three college foundations did not have any material weaknesses. There were significant deficiencies, which are areas for improvement that were received by the Moore Park College Foundation and the Oxnard College Foundation. The good news is some of the recommendations have already been incorporated by our college foundation teams. All three audits have been received by their respective foundation boards. And we have representatives here tonight if the board has any questions or comments.
Are there any, excuse me, questions or comments from the board? Trustee Torres.
I would love to see the foundation directors at our meeting. So thank you for being here, especially the amazing work that you do at each one of your respective colleges. Sometimes I get to run into some of you at the grocery store and have wonderful conversations. Like I saw Anne, I ran into her, and just amazing equity work and how the foundations come together to join our efforts. It's always incredible to hear more. And so I am really looking forward to the foundations. I know there's going to be a time when you present and you let us know the work you're doing. The opportunity to sometimes talk about maybe just like Moore Park, some of the strengths and maybe some of the areas of improvement. that maybe challenges you face. I know that it was mentioned there was a couple of things that were recommended and areas that you've done to address them. So we'd love to be able to hear from you. And also if there's any way that we can support the work, it's always great to be able to hear from our foundation. So thank you for being here tonight to answer any questions that we may have. And so I'm just really looking forward to another evening where you come and present the amazing work that you're doing and some of the strengths and maybe some of the areas of challenges and improvements that you've had and what you've done to address them. And if there's anything from the board level that we can do to support the work. Thank you.
Okay, if there are no other trustee Chancellor, no, if there are no other comments or questions, is there a motion to approve this item? Thank you. Is there a trustee Mantoo seconds? Student trustee, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Board, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries. So I stepped out briefly and I generally try to read the room. Are we good? Shall we keep working? Thank you. All right. 1503, action to approve ratification of third amendment to the lease agreement between the Ventura County Fire Protection District and our district for 5 years with options to renew for five-year terms for the property located at 104 Durley Avenue, Camarillo Airport. Chancellor.
Thank you. Emily, are you prepared to talk about this one as well?
Yes, so our original lease with the Ventura County for this space was for 12 years. There were extensions that has lapsed that began in 2011. The action to approve the ratification of this lease agreement is for initial term of 5 years. There are five-year renewals, so for a total of 30 years. There are periods within the lease agreement if Ventura County chooses not to renew, or if the college district chooses not to renew, that we would notify each other respectively. The large sections of the agreement are summarized for you at the bottom of page 413 of your board package.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second. Trustee Lichtel seconds. Are there any questions or comments? If none, student trustee, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Board, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Thank you. Let me try to make it simple on this item. I should have done that before. Item 1504, are there any questions or comments or with this item? Which is the ratification of license agreement with the County of Ventura Sheriff's Office. Okay, is there a motion to approve? Trustee Torres moves. Is there a second? Trustee Lichtel seconds. Student trustee, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Board, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Thank you. Okay, item 1505, action to approve Moore Park College Facilities Vision Plan. Chancellor.
Thank you. I had the opportunity to get an update on this a few weeks ago, actually, at Moore Park College. And I'm excited to have the board hear at least an overview of some of the great work that's been done. Jennifer Clark is presenting with the architects, Gensler. Thank you.
Oh, good evening. I wasn't sure if my boss wanted to say anything first, but awesome. Well, good evening, trustees, chancellor, everyone. We are super excited to be able to present to you tonight. We're going to go quick. I've told my Gensler colleagues, which were super fantastic to work with, keep it in less than 10 minutes, which we will do. We will hit the highlights for you. the process, the outcomes, and moving forward, kind of, as you know, this sets us up well for hopefully what's coming, to our district in the next few years. So anyway, I'm going to introduce Deborah Shepley. She is one of the masters at Gensler Architects. Is it Gensler Design? Gensler Architect, the official name of the company. Just Gensler. Oh, I'm making it much more complicated. Anyway, Deb, please take it away. We do have a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation. If we could get that up on the screen, that would be awesome.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here. If we can go into full screen mode if possible, that would be great. Otherwise, we'll use this. This facilities vision plan is a.
Can you just try to speak closer to the mic?
Yes,
Thank you.
is that better? Okay. So this facilities vision plan is a result of many people coming together, part of the Moore Park College community, and following a process that led to these recommendations. On the next slide, you'll see that we followed this 5-step planning process. And without going through all the details, most importantly, this process was integrated with other college planning efforts. It was very, very participatory. There were lots of opportunities for people to get involved in the planning process throughout the Moore Park College community. And it was data informed. So our team did a lot of analysis. We identified challenges, we identified opportunities, and then we looked at a lot of quantitative and qualitative information, particularly all that was collected from the campus engagement. And that was all used to just guide discussions, create a framework for planning, and led to the recommendations. So in terms of the participation, we invited the campus community in a couple of different ways. One of the things we did is we held an open campus forum during Club Brush Day. And students came up and participated and shared their ideas, their thoughts, their perspectives, because we really wanted to amplify the student voice to improve their experiences. The other way we invited voices in was through an online survey. So we provided different options for people to get involved, again, share their perspectives, share their diverse experiences. And then we met regularly with the planning team, and that included representatives from across the college, as were mentioned earlier in the Moore Park College President's Report. So I mentioned this plan being very integrated with other planning efforts. The Moore Park College Strategic Plan was the foundation for this plan focused on facilities. So what you see here on this slide are the 5 strategic directions. So we used those, we looked at all the information that was gathered and analyzed and identified a set of topics to inform 5 facilities guiding principles. So these are the topics you see at the bottom of the slide. And if you can go to the next slide, I want to highlight these because they're very, very important. And these were the principles that we talked about in terms of thinking about how to improve the campus, how to build on the wonderful features of the campus to make the campus even better, and also to address some of those challenges that were identified. So the first is being student-centered, to really think about designing the campus from the student's perspective and making sure that those programs and services that are so important for students to succeed are easily found and accessed. The second is about connecting the campus from the first time welcoming and inviting entry point to improving connections around the campus and across the campus. And I'd say also up and down the campus across the multiple different levels. The next was about enhancing a sense of belonging for the entire community, for students, for faculty, for staff, as well as your surrounding community, which was identified in the 4th category about really welcoming your communities onto campus and providing spaces for events and activities that they appreciate so much. And the 5th one is about stewardship of resources, taking care of what the land of the buildings that you have, and where it makes sense to replace the temporary inefficient, and oldest facilities on campus with newer buildings that are easier to maintain and will support program needs. So on the next slide, you'll see a few diagrams which highlight the main development concepts. So these are very diagrammatic ideas that talk about ways to improve access, ways to improve connections in multiple directions. Again, that long arrow is going up and down the campus at the multiple levels. And also to create a campus hearth, to create a center of campus that brings everyone together. And that will do so much to enhance the sense of community on campus and the sense of belonging. And you see on the bottom of the page, this is a cross section through the campus where you see the multiple levels. And so we're using the development of buildings and landscape features to help make a seamless transition and a wonderful experience transitioning either from upper campus to low or in the other direction. So buildings step down the hill and create accessible pathways. So on the next slide, this is a diagram of the campus today. All the existing buildings are in dark gray and the temporary facilities are in the pink. And so the facilities vision plan is highlighted on the next page, where you see all of the existing and proposed buildings. They're all in white on this particular slide, but what's highlighted is a series of site improvements. So throughout the campus, it includes entryways, parking areas, drop-offs, and a number of landscape improvements. On the next slide, those white buildings turn colors to indicate which buildings are recommended for reconstruction. They're all highlighted. Those are older buildings. They're in need for different levels of renovation depending on the program needs. And some will have more extensive reconstruction and some will be more minor, but they were important to note on this page. And the next slide you see in buildings in blue indicate the facilities that are recommended for new construction. So this new construction includes some projects that have been discussed for a while, including student housing, along with a wonderful campus center, a new science building, and many others identified to support program needs. Yes.
I just couldn't figure out or see it. What does ANCT mean?
That is the new brand for EDM. It is Animal Care and Training.
Thank you.
And so I believe there's one more slide. And what I want to highlight on this slide, what you see on the left are all those projects that are in this facilities vision plan. These are building projects, new construction, renovations, and site building projects. And what you see in this crosswalk or matrix is how each of these projects are supporting two or more of the facilities guiding principles, which tie back to the Moore Park College strategic directions and represent the why of every project as part of an integrated planning process. And that's the last slide.
Thank you, Deb. So if the board, Chancellor, if anyone has any questions, we'd be happy to answer them if we can.
Trustee Mantooth, I see you reaching for the mic.
Yes, thank you. Just a question about going forward. Each of these components will have price tags.
Yes. Sir.
In a perfect world, there'll be enough money to complete the vision. Let's suppose there isn't. Then can we assume that you'll be using the same criteria for determining which projects have priority as you have in the visioning? Would you want to
That would be true.
comment on that?
Absolutely. We have already gone through a preliminary process, Trustee Mantooth, as far as a prioritization order is concerned. Because obviously this is our vision plan. If in a perfect world, if we had all the money that we wanted, these are all the things that but we know that isn't the reality, right? So we know that there is going to be a prioritization process that will need to happen. So as I say, we've already identified a few that would bubble to the top if we had, whatever the different levels are, 100 million, 500 million, 50,000, whatever it is. We've identified those items that would bubble to the top. Yes.
Trustee Torres.
If you research positive behavior intervention systems of support. So it talks about how do we create a culture, a school climate, a culture of care, a culture of belongingness. And I really appreciate that you're taking this into facilities, because we talk about it in terms of our school climate. What does it look like with practices and processes, and what are we doing within our classrooms? What are we doing within greeting our students when they come in? And I really liked how you were very innovative in actually incorporating something within your facilities to take into consideration. You have 5 guiding principles that's going to lead the work. So when you're prioritizing, whenever it comes to, okay, what is it from our guiding principles and how are we going to make a decision based on what we committed? And so I really like that you have that. It's like your North Star. So when that decision comes, you go back, okay, is this going to really address these areas? And the beautiful campus that our students can come into, that's beautiful, just the grounds, that's healing. So we talk about well-being. Our campuses, our facilities are important, and the sense of belong is the community engagement, the connected campus, all of those go very hand in hand with student success, our student support services, and also with the instructional component. So I appreciate that you took time to also connect facilities into the entire work that we're doing. So I just wanted to mention it because I'm not sure if it was intentional, but if it was, I noticed it. So I just wanted you to know, because sometimes you're like, do they make the connection? And so immediately as I was reading, I was looking over the PowerPoint presentation, I said, oh, wow, this is really nice, because it takes a lot of work of an entire committee, everyone coming together, and especially for facilities, and how are we going to be connected to our mission and our vision as a district, as our school, as a college. And as I was looking at it, it's very much PBIS. So if you ever have a chance, I know you're so busy, you can take a look at, for the K-12, what we're doing nationwide, and it's building positive behavior systems of support in our students. And so you're doing amazing work. And I always get excited because I always see our district partnering with our K-12 schools, and even using some of this amazing work that you do, because we have facility plans also, but they're not there yet. And just mention it as you do. So I just wanted to recognize your work. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm assuming, thank you for the report. I'm assuming a lot of this will help guide the work for the potential bond.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
I'm just curious, and I kind of picked up on this. I want to front load my question a little bit through the lens of Ventura College. So when Ventura College went through their facilities master plan, it was brought to my attention that sometimes, options, and I remember going to some of the community meetings. I know you guys are Moore Park College in a different plan here. But what I noticed is at points, specific questions weren't always asked. And in hindsight, I wish they were. And the question in particular, and I know there's a sense of urgency or a wish to see a pool at Moore Park College as well. Was that ever something explored?
To see a pool, did you say pool, swimming pool?
Yeah.
Not really. It came up maybe once or twice. A couple of people mentioned it. It was not it was not mentioned very much at all. I'm sure we do have people in our community that would like one, but quite honestly, it did not come up very much at all.
Okay. And I guess, and I don't want to project that Moore Park College is Ventura College, but what I found was if participants knew that this was the opportunity to pose their enthusiasm, they can rally and come together and say, this is something looking 20 years out that we would like to see for our community. And I'm just curious, because we have the potential for a bond, is there an opportunity to be specific in the question in that? And I don't want to put Chair Perez on the spot, but I know you're much more intimately involved in the Moore Park community and have also voiced that Moore Park residents and that community's K-12 partners and what have you are curious or eager for a pool as well. I don't want to miss an opportunity in this facilities master plan for that to be.
So if I may, that
Please.
question, so we asked that question, not specifically about a pool, but the question was basically, if you could design the campus, it was something like, what was it?
We asked a question and had boards at the open forum. We asked for 100 ideas of how to improve the campus. And we asked to think big, think out to 2035, any ideas. And that's where we got a wonderful a list of all these different types of projects. We analyzed them, we synthesized them, and we looked at the ones that were mentioned multiple times. It was also, we had one that also related particularly for students and what would encourage you to spend more time on campus. So we did ask, and we did ask people to dream, and that's was part of the planning process.
You have a question of me specifically? I know there has been a interest in the community for a swimming pool, but it's a complex, no pun intended, it's a complex goal to work toward it. And, you know, that's been a discussion for a number of years, you know, and it's been a discussion amongst the high school district, the city of Moore Park, and the college. And we are where we are for whatever myriad of reasons. And I guess I would only ask the question to augment your question, Trustee Chancellor, is can you speak a little more on community, the level of active community engagement? When you say you asked the question, who did you ask it of?
Well, we had, I know there were, when we did the survey, there were emails that were sent out, and actually Debbie Klein actually took that on. There were individuals in the community, the foundation being one, people from the city that were sent the email so that they could participate in the survey. I know we had forums on campus, so really what do you call it, State of the College, where
Right.
we had, you were present
Yes.
at that one in particular, where we had, 40 or 50 people from the community that heard firsthand what we had been doing and what we were planning to do, or what we were dreaming about in terms of the facilities and the vision plan. I know that, am I missing anything else in terms of community?
So there was also an opportunity during the State of the College to survey attendees, and there were actually about 68 people at that event, and representing the various cities that we serve. And they then provided feedback to an earlier draft of this document. So our foundation sent out information to foundation mailing list. The folks who came to the State of the College got to give feedback at that event, plus a survey, and also the work that we've done with our campus community members.
I suppose I'll just add, and I know Moore Park College is at Ventura College, but after the approval of the facilities master plan at Ventura College, and it in one way, shape, or form, it kind of shut the door of that discussion of a pool then showing up on a bond, because it wasn't included in the facilities master plan. And what came about in hindsight was, aquatic programs are big in the county. And a lot of the key players and leaders in that community said, if we knew we had to show up and specifically advocate, we would have been there. And I'm not saying that it didn't happen. I'm not intimately involved in that case, but, I do know there are efforts in the east end of the county because of the demand on pools and the lack thereof. I'm wondering if that specific question versus, hey, dream big, but the specific question was, would you like to see a pool at Moore Park College? Would that enhance community involvement to do swim lessons and to these types of things, to, water polo programs, swimming program, like all of the things that could possibly improve even enrollment, but the college experience at Moore Park, if that question were asked, would it then be on this facilities master plan? I know that doesn't mean it's going to happen because these programs cost money, but at least it can be a dream or a goal. And then that translates into a discussion at the bond level.
Fair question. Yeah, fair question. Do you know if that question was specifically asked or?
Did
and
we
maybe-
ask specifically
Yeah.
about a pool? No.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No, it was more, again, general, big
Right.
dream, big, next 15 years, what would you like to see?
Okay. You raised some interesting questions, which I think deserve some other opportunity to pursue as opposed to this specific item, but and Trustee Torres.
Trustee Chancellor's comments, would they be able to even ask the question? Because if I'm asking the question, do you want a pool? Aren't I already influencing the response of what I want? So does it have to be generic to really get a unbiased opinion of the interest of the community? And I don't know because I'm not the researcher, but sometimes is that the intent? Because you're saying dream, and so you don't want to necessarily say, would you be interested in a pool? Because then you can also say, would you be interested in something else? And now you have multiple individuals or just different interests. So I'm just curious in terms of design of surveys and trying to get an unbiased opinion, if that would be a reason why you just keep it general. And I don't know the answer. I'm just kind of asking because that's how I would ask questions for my students in my school.
Typically in the planning that we do, we stay away from the specifics to make it more open-ended
Okay.
and to hear, because I'm not a researcher, but some people would say, yes, that is leading. Would you like a pool? Sure.
Mm.
I'd like a pool. And we didn't list everything. So
Okay. I was just wondering. Okay.
So getting back to an earlier question or comment about project prioritization, I guess program prioritization, if you will, would have been part of the outcome of the online survey, correct? Because of who you surveyed.
Sure. Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah, that's right. And let me ask the question. I mean, Trustee Toro was saying it, that's a good point, but depends on who answered the survey. 761 responses, is that a fair representation or response rate, I guess?
Great question. Actually, we are very proud of how we got the kinds of responses and who we got the responses from. I am also not a researcher, but there is this self-selection bias. When you put a survey out there, people that in general are more involved, read their email, whatever reason, those people tend to self-select. Oh yeah, that survey sounds interesting. I'll participate in that. Where the majority of our students we know don't even open email. And that's just, we know that. So we wanted to get a very, very well sort of an excellent cross-section of the student body thoughts, opinions. And so what we did was we identified several courses. I've forgotten how many sections we actually surveyed, but it was quite a few. And I'm talking about the sections or the classes that all students or 95% of students take, communications and English, the math. I don't know if we had any math, but we had basically general ed classes that all students take, or that again, 95% of students take. We had instructors gave up 10 minutes of their class time. Surveyors came in, 100% participation. All students in that classroom answered the questions on the survey. So we got a very, very good cross-section.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments? So the action is to approve this vision plan, facilities vision plan. And with any, just like our facilities plans, let me just ask this question. Taking action tonight, just as we've taken previous action on facilities master plans, that does not preclude further visits to those plans. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, thank you. All right. With that then, if there's no other question or comment, is there a motion to approve this plan?
So moved.
Student trustee moves and trustee Lichtel seconds. Student trustee, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Board, how do you vote? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
No.
Okay, thank you. We'll keep going then. 1601, action to approve the sabbatical leave recommendations for 2024-2025. Pretty straightforward. If there are no, I can anticipate that there aren't too many questions on this item. Is there a motion to approve?
As I'll, go ahead. I'll
Okay.
defer to you.
Trustee Torres. Oh,
I'll second with an opportunity to make a comment or ask a question.
now is your opportunity.
Thank you. So in reading the proposals for sabbaticals, obviously a lot of great work that's going to be happening and that's being proposed. Last year, or I think it was in the same meeting, in the January meeting, we approved this year's sabbaticals and projects and so forth. And we've not had an update as far as what those look like, what the culmination of those projects were. I know some of those will happen second semester during this next term. But, you know, at some point, can we get something as a board, or at least I would like, something that tells us, you know, kind of the so what of the work that was done and what the results will be and how it's going to improve student learning and our delivery into the future.
Chancellor?
Laura, do you want to talk a little bit about how that works? And yes, the big answer is yes to your question, but I'll let Laura explain a little bit more about what happens.
Sure. So upon the completion of a sabbatical, the faculty member who's on sabbatical completes a report that then is submitted to the district. It is due 6 months after the completion of the sabbatical. What we do with those reports is put them on a website and they are posted so that anyone interested can see what the results of that sabbatical were. In the collective bargaining agreement that we have, it does have a phrase in there about encouraging the board, to ask the question about sabbaticals. It doesn't necessarily say we do a presentation, but that's something that we can take a look at.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know that a presentation is something that all of the board members would require. I would say just a synopsis of, these projects that, we funded at whatever level. I'm not sure how that works, quite frankly. I think it's half a year's salary or what have you, but we are putting money into these projects. And so I would expect that we would want to see a return on our investment. And I'd just like to, get a synopsis of here's what's happened with this project. Here's the outcome. Here's the product, the work product that's being disseminated either to the president or to colleagues. And then maybe down the line, again, how that came to fruition. Was there a change?
Thank you for that, Trustee Lichtel. So we do include those reports on that website. So if,
Okay.
and I think we provided the link, but recognizing your comments there, let me see what we can come up with so that we can sort of package that for the board.
Trustee Torres.
I think it would be really nice, would also, particularly because we hear from the math department at times and the English department because of AB 1705, but it'd be great to hear from the sciences, from humanities, social sciences, just how they're moving the work, also how they're joining efforts and within their respective, let's say content areas, because that's what I use in my K-12, but within their areas, also supporting this work because students are also writing and science students are also using math. And so it's great to see how the sabbaticals, and maybe it's at a department level. And sometimes we don't get to hear like how that looks like at the board meeting. And I know I'd love within time, and it could be a project of within the next few years, just like we do for the budget, multi-budget. I forgot how its term, but we can do the same, I think, for our departments. I'd love to see the work that's being done because a lot of good work happens within the disciplines, and we tend to hear mostly in English and math because of AB 1705, but it'd be great to maybe, it could be the highlight of the sabbatical work that's taking place and how it's being incorporated into addressing those inequities that we see within our students in instruction, and how these this research and work that they're doing is advancing the work within their respective disciplines. And it's great to be able to celebrate. So maybe that's something that can be planned and within the years to come, just occasionally just have like a presentation to the board and hear of the great work and hear directly from, you know, the faculty themselves. It's nice to sometimes be able to ask questions and them share. So I think there was one, a math one. There was one a couple years ago or last year. It was really interesting. And I said, I don't want to put the faculty on the spot, but if he's able to come and share with the board, like the outcome, because he was really doing something. And I think he addressed it in his narrative, how I think it was a math department and just those concepts and principles of equity. It was really interesting, the work he was going to do. I can't remember. I wrote it in my notes, but something like that would be helpful. Thank you.
Chairperson, Trustee Licht.
If I may, I knew I had seen the number, but I didn't want to misquote it, but our investment for sabbaticals for the coming school year would be $658,000. So, you know, that's a substantial commitment on behalf of the board and the district. So, again, if there's a website that was supposed to be on this item 16.01, I don't see it. I don't see a link to that would lead me to, what I do see is the proposed projects for the fall of 24 and the spring of 25. So again, I'm seeking information about the fall of 23 and the spring. Well, we're not ready for the spring of 24, but maybe the spring of 22, right? And 23, the last two cycles, how that went, what the projects were, what the fruition was. And as much as I'd love to hear from every single one of our colleagues and our professors that did the work, I don't think that's practical. But I think, again, a synopsis, which I'm sure is something they provided you, that we could look at our leisure, I think would be really would be important, because community members do ask, hey, this teacher went on sabbatical and they were going to do X, Y, and Z. What's the result? You know, so what happened? That's kind of what I'm looking for. It's an accountability piece. Thank you.
Yes, and Trustee Torres and Chancellor, correct me if I'm wrong, but when this item came up under agenda setting, we had some of the same conversation, because at one time the board had been provided all this sabbatical requests, and more for information, because again, this is a negotiated item. It's an agreement between the district and the union. But I look at the benefit of having a post-sabbatical report, if you will, in whatever way, shape, and form it comes out to be, as helping us put sabbaticals in this instance, but helps put in perspective for us what's happening out there and how it ties into what you're looking for, Trustee Lichtel. How have student outcomes been improved by, you know, this arrow in the quiver of all that's going on? Chancellor?
Yeah, thank you. This one's actually, Trustee Lichtel, pretty easy to get some closure on. We do have the links ready. If they weren't there, we'll get them, but we'll certainly, in the new format that we have for updating the board on questions and things like that, we'll make sure that, because the link, the work is done.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of just getting it to you. So we'll make sure that happens.
Okay, thank you. With that, we have a motion from Trustee Torres, seconded by Trustee Lichtel. Student trustee, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Board, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? None? Thank you. That takes us to 1602, action to approve resolution 2024-001, layoff of permanent classified employee. And let me thank staff for providing that clarifying email on this matter. With that, there are no questions or comments. Is there a motion to approve? Anybody? Trustee Lick, thank you. Trustee Matu? And we all can relate to the presumed reason why. Student trustee, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Board, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? None? Thank you. No items under 1701. 18, Chancellor and Information Report. Chancellor?
I will just commend to you the written reports that are part of the materials that went out prior to the meeting. But I also, you all may be aware that the governor released his version of the budget just a little while back. And I've asked Emily to just give us just a little synopsis of some of the high points of that budget release, just so the board has some idea what the landscape looks like. We have a lot's going to happen between now and the May revise. There's a lot of uncertainty right now. That may be part of what Emily was going to talk about, but Emily, you want to go ahead and just hit some of the high points?
Thank you, Chancellor. So the governor kicked off the state legislative budget process last week by doing his proposal on January 10th. I'm going to take a step back. Back in December, early December, the Legislative Analyst's Office, the LAO, had issued as part of their fiscal outlook, drawing attention to the $68 billion state deficit. So that is a culmination of a variety of things. It's the declines in the stock market, which impacts the state's capital gains tax revenue. Along with that, back last year's winter storms, there were a majority of the California counties were under emergency declarations. So the IRS had delayed the tax filing deadline from April 15th, where it's typically all the way back to October, and then they extended it again in November. What that means when the governor put together the 23-24 budget is they typically rely on the revised revenue estimates that would, come to light in May. With the delay in the tax filings all the way to mid-November, a clearer picture of the state revenues didn't become clear until, that deadline had passed, and the LAO issued their fiscal outlook December 7th. Now, fast forward to January 10th, when the governor issued his budget proposal. The governor's looking at a $38 billion deficit. So 38 billion, 68 billion, that's a difference of 30 billion that we were very concerned about. The LAO issued an overview of the governor's budget on January 13th. So they took a few days, reviewed, and the LAO indicates that the governor's budget proposal is actually addressing a $58 billion deficit because the governor is proposing to do some baseline changes with the fiscal year that we're in to 23-24. This is not a rosy picture. The state, the governor is proposing to address the budget deficit, a majority of that, 41 billion, with spending related solutions, and a smaller portion, around 13 billion, is drawing on reserves. So that's to give you, the 30,000-foot view of what's in the governor's budget proposal as a whole. Now for California community colleges, what the governor's proposing is a 0.76 COLA. and then a 0.5% enrollment growth, and then very little in one-time dollars. It's 60 million to grow and enhance the nursing education. And they're hoping to have a similar level of 60 million year over year for 5 years. Now our governor has not included a lot of detail on what reductions would look like. And also for K through 14, the governor is also proposing drawdown on the Prop 98 rainy day fund. So that's what we're looking at, in the governor's budget proposal. It's still early days. There's a budget workshop in Sacramento tomorrow. Vice President Renbarger and Vice President Zavas are attending on behalf of the district. Additionally, I do want to say that, the governor's office recognizes that they did not have the typical amount of time to put together the January proposal, with the updated revenue estimates, things like that. So there are, large question marks and things that the governor's office had indicated in the January proposal that would need to be addressed in the May revise. It does, but, the governor's budget will go through the legislative process. There's going to be thumb wrestling, negotiations, things like that. And there's also going to be additional information that, both the Department of Finance is going to get and the Legislative Analyst's Office is going to get as we get a clearer picture with additional data. What that means, what we're hoping for more clarity in the May revise, along with the information that I've shared with you, also includes the Prop 51 capital outlay, the statewide lease revenue bonds to support student housing, as well as Cal Grant reforms in the May revise.
You're ending on a high note. Trustee Lichtel.
Thank you for that. That was great detail and a lot of clarification because it's something I'm obviously interested in and been reviewing as well. So it's my understanding that the Prop 98 would actually be reduced. The obligation would be reduced by $15.2 billion based on kind of where we are right now, where we're sitting with dollars. And that's directly to schools and community colleges. I'd be curious to hear in out meetings, how that may impact our own community college, if that actually comes to fruition. And I don't think anybody has a crystal ball and can really predict that, but it seems that a $15.2 billion reduction in Prop 98 is going to be it's going to be a hit to our budgets. I'm also understanding that in addition to budget shifts and funding shifts, which basically don't solve future problems. As a matter of fact, I think the LAO stated in that report that the Governor Newsom's budget is not sustainable in the future years and out years. So it does seem that we're facing a bigger budget crisis than maybe would have been anticipated a year or two ago. I'm also concerned about delays and deferrals because sometimes what gets deferred is what's needed the most. That includes maintenance deferrals and those kinds of costs that tend to be deferred. When you have schools that are either not appropriately meeting the students' needs, and then that's what's cut first. That's also a concern to me. So I'd be curious to hear again in future meetings what we think that may mean to our schools. And again, I don't expect you to have a crystal ball, and I think you covered it all very well. But again, these are issues that concern me. Reductions of $8 billion is what he proposed right off the bat. And so, I just, when we talk about, the previous item we talked about was only $650,000. But, when we're facing these kinds of potential deficits in the state budget, that's going to impact not only the district, but our colleges individually. I just really believe that we need to be mindful of where those dollars are going. And I know that you do that. And again, I appreciate your explanation because I thought it was very thorough. So appreciate that. And actually I had a whole commentary on the item, so I'll get to skip that. So thank you for that.
Anyone else? Okay, well, to your point about future progress on the budget, in your world and certainly in your past experience, and I'm sure trustees Chancellor and Torres are very mindful of budget development, the state level and impacts on your world. But we will get information.
Sure.
That comes down on what's the impact to the system, what's the impact to our district. And I don't know if we've gotten into this detail in the past, but it would be helpful, I think, if it can be developed and even in broad brush form. Okay, so what are the impacts to our colleges or to the programs? And ultimately, how is it impacting the programs for our students that have led to all these glowing reports that we've heard earlier? I mean, that's something to be made aware of on a regular basis. So thank you. And I was only kidding about ending on a high note, but thank you for the detailed response. That's the kind of detail we need. Chancellor, did you want to add anything or say anything? Good report. And good report from all the other departments or divisions that are included in that. That brings us to 1802, trustees' request for reports. Do we have any tonight? If not, we can move forward then to meeting evaluation, which reminds me, and trustee Torres, maybe at our next agenda.
Trustee reports next. 1901.
Trustee reports, excuse me, 1901.
That's okay.
The trustee Lichtel.
Thank you for that. I kind of had to giggle when we got to item 16.02, that layoff resolution, that we kind of had that pregnant pause. And I get that it's not comfortable. But at the same time, I think that I trust that the district staff is making those decisions along with site staff thoughtfully and only when necessary. So, happy to support those, though it's a difficult decision to make. Again, thank you, Ms. Day, for the detail on the LAOs, the Legislative Guidance Office report on the budget. I also was very pleased to hear and felt very validated the colleges commemorated Dr. King's existence, birth, through whatever activities happen either on campus or in the community. And, we look forward to several other important dates here in our future here in January. As a matter of fact, on the 27th is International Holocaust Remembrance Day. And in light of the turmoil in the Middle East, and I made mention of this before, it's really important to me that all of our students feel comfortable on campus and feel safe and feel heard and seen. And during this time when that turmoil does exist, I think there are specific populations of students that may need extra care. And again, I trust that that's happening at the site levels. And I can't emphasize again how important it is for those students to feel like they belong in our district. February, of course, will mark African American History Month, National Freedom Day. This is the day the 13th Amendment was signed by Abraham Lincoln. So I think that's a great opportunity to maybe kind of couple those two together. And of course, President's Day later on in the month. And these dates are important to me because I think that to some degree, I have a sense after 38 years in public education that some of the significant historical events that are kind of have made up the fabric of who we are tend to get lost. And I think it's important for us to kind of revitalize and keep those alive. And I think that our community college students would really benefit from that. So when I make mention of those, that's my purpose, is that I think they're important dates. And thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Mantu.
I'm in complete agreement with the remarks from my fellow trustee and would not presume to augment them at this time.
All right, trustee Torres.
You forgot Valentine's Day, trustee Lichtel, in February, about love. And I say Valentine's Day. And when I mention it is love. And when we talk about this work, it's really love that takes us to do all of the sacrifices, the labor of love, social justice, equity work, spending long hours. It's that love. And so when I say Valentine's, I genuinely mean it. It's a time to really be with our loved ones and to really our students and express love and care. We do it all the time, but that's what we do in education. And it makes it all worth it. So it's one of my favorite holidays. And it's one of those that I make it a point to just, I do say I love you to all of my students on my campus. And every morning I'm greeting them. And it's funny because at first I'm like, good morning. And they don't answer. And then now it's, if I don't say good morning, they're like, oh, Ms. Torres, especially the middle schoolers. But they love it and they notice it. And I think for our community college students, the same goes, making them feel appreciated. And what is that sense of belonging? It feels like, hey, how's it going in your class? What can I do to help you? I've noticed, I've noticed a difference in the work you've been turning in. How you been? Because they have so much going on, and coming to school is sometimes one of those de-stressors. And so I want to say thank you to everyone, our students that are here present, every single board meeting that you're here representing the students and listening to us. Your voice is so important. We're all here because of you. So please always feel free to, I know you have your reports to share, but if there's any concerns, anything that you have that you'd like us to know, please speak up, because decisions that are made as the dais is based in the best interest of students, and you've been elected to represent your constituencies, which are your students in your campus, to come here to our meetings and let us know. So when you hear us voting on action items, we're voting on things that are in the best interest of students. And as you hear the budget, this board sometimes has to make a decision on what is it that we're going to prioritize. And so we want to hear from you. So stay attentive, particularly to the budget along the way, and come in and share with us. Let us know what are your priorities, what are your needs, because that helps us in our deliberation to be able to hear, because all we do here is for students. And sometimes the voice we don't hear as strong and as loud is the student voice. So please know that you are in a very beautiful position to represent. And so it always warms my heart when I get to hear from students and see them, and then see everybody else with the amazing work that they do. So with this, thank you for everything that you do for my fellow trustees. Have a wonderful time in Sacramento for those that are going, as you're doing amazing work, and also at Washington, D.C. I don't know, I'll probably see you after Washington, D.C. Is that our second meeting in February? When are we meeting?
February 13th.
Okay. Oh, right before Valentine's. I know last year you made us meet on Valentine's. And so have a wonderful time, trustees, doing amazing work representing us, our college, our district. We have all faith and all trust in the work you're going to be doing and moving this work forward. Very blessed and very grateful to be on this board with everyone. I am so looking forward to this upcoming year. We have trainings. I know Trustee Chair Perez and I talked a little bit about DEI training. So with Ted Bagley, so I know you know him, Stan, and just coming back, Lou, to address some of the things you've been saying about, let's just come together as the board and let's talk about some of the things that we need to. So I just wanted to share that, because we one of the things that Trustee Perez and I talked about, Chair Perez and I, is listening to the board and what are we going to do this year to continue moving this work forward. Very intentional, very strategic. So the board is going to continue to mirror the work that we are seeing in our colleges. And just as you have your strengths and areas of improvement as a board, we are going to do the same. What are our strengths? What are our areas of growth? And so we are really looking forward to that work. Thank you.
Trustee Chancellor.
One thing I'd like to mention is a request, Chair Perez, for our next meeting on closed session to have an update in regards to negotiations with AFT 1828. I think on the compressed calendar and some of the issues in the consultation report. Number two, shout out, thank you to Ventura Townhouse. I think I got that right. They made a donation to Oxnard College Culinary Department. Yeah, I think $10,000 in knives. Is that what I read? 3 years in a row. So that's huge. That's really exciting. I did have a question. I didn't put it in the request for a report because I don't think it, well, the topic, it warrants a report, but I think it's an easy one. I was asked, do we have immediate aid for students that are housing insecure? Like on a Monday, they have housing, but on a Tuesday, they find themselves homeless. Do we have systems in place to immediately support students that night? So just was curious on that. We got some information, particularly from Oxnard College tonight, about partnerships with Cal State University Channel Islands. And I was talking to a colleague of mine at Camarillo High School. And what he reminded me of is Cal State Channel Islands is starting to, I think, replicate some of the enrollment services that we have within our colleges directly to our high school seniors. In other words, enrolling them on the spot. And it reminded me again, the advantage that some of the Oxnard schools have with counselors, not just enrollment teams, but counselors working with some of our juniors and seniors, and not just enrolling them, but looking at their plan, matching them up, getting them their 900 numbers, getting them courses and into the systems. So I know I've mentioned this numerous times before, but I think it's worth mentioning again. And number 5, thank you to the Ventura County Sheriff Training Center and Ventura College Criminal Justice Center for welcoming some students from my high school, Frontier High School, to their campus with a tour and to show students exactly what a career in law enforcement could look like firsthand. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Student trustee.
I'll be really quick. So, transfer students, please remind them that they need to update their grades from the fall semester by January 31st. It's very important they get that done. They also have to complete setting up their portals of each university they applied to. And if they have any questions, please send them to the transfer center to their campuses. I would also like to thank the transfer centers for all the work that they did during the transfer season. They provided a lot of support for students. It was very great to see the lively environment in each of the transfer centers. I'm also looking forward to seeing, going to the events that the students are putting up for Women's History Month and Black History Month. I don't know if I should have done it for the reports, but can I get an update on the health center at Ventura College? I just want to make sure things are going smoothly. Me and Mark, the ASG president, would like to get more updates if possible.
Dr. Hoffman briefly responded to that interest earlier in the evening, but Chancellor.
No, I think we've noted that question and we'll push that out to all the trustees to make sure that we've responded to that.
Thank you. Okay, so a few things here. On December 13th, I did attend the Moore Park College State of the College breakfast, and it was well attended. You're doing a great job, you and she's still in the room, and Debbie. Well, you too, but
John's back there.
and John, you exceeded the 10 minutes presentation you alluded to earlier, but it was great information, so time flew. Debbie Klein, she's got a long title, institutional advancement or something like that. But well attended, and you're doing great work in building community engagement out there. On December 9th, I was 2 representatives from new leadership of the Ventura County Taxpayers Association reached out to me. I met with them, and which led to a meeting with them and our chancellor. And part of the outcome of that is the chancellor, I will be invited to make a presentation to their board of directors. And that goes along with your getting out there in the community and the community getting to know us better and more fully what we have to offer the community. On January 11th, Dr. Herrera participated in the City of Moore Park's first ever, they've been a city since '83, their first ever economic development strategic planning process. And who else was there? Julius, how could I forget? But they were amazed at what Moore Park College and all of our colleges have to offer the business communities, the business sector in their community, in Moore Park specifically, but throughout the rest. And I believe that was the first step in building a tighter collaborative relationship between our colleges and the various cities that they serve. I want to thank AFT. I met with them on their membership on January 12th. Had a great time meeting with familiar faces and meeting new people. And this morning, I met with representatives of LULAC and labor. And again, that goes toward continuing dialogue between the labor representatives and LULAC with the district and the colleges. And this morning, I participated in the DEIA steering committee that was initially impaneled through the chancellor's office. And two important outcomes. One, at this upcoming effective trustee work conference, the former trustee town halls, which were presented online, will now be a part of each trustee conference in the future, beginning with this January's conference. The DEI presentation will be part of the plenary session. So who else is attending the Sacramento workshop? Trustee Mantooth? No? Just me? Well, I will be attending. Oh, Chancellor, I expect to see you at the plenary session and listening to the great trustees that will be presenting that workshop. So look forward to that. And also, and I think I shared it with all of you, there's the Chancellor's office will be presenting another trustee welcome. And they're great topics and great learning experiences. And I'll end with something that just, I was going to check with the Chancellor and the college presidents later, but you sparked my reason for mentioning it now. You asked about students that may find themselves homeless. I participate with the Samaritan Center in Simi Valley, and they have a winter warming shelter. And my thought was, gee, this might be helpful to students also. And they're at least the one in Simi Valley, they have to abide by the rules when they enter, and drug-free and alcohol-free and all that stuff. And lights out at 9. And there's still the one distressing thought is they still have to leave by 6 a.m. despite the weather, whatever it might be, but they're given a breakfast. So I'll leave it. I've said it, so maybe those of you can talk to your student support individuals and see if get the word out, and maybe it's an option for some students that find themselves in that unfortunate situation. So, sure. Mhm.
Right now when Trustee Perez was mentioning the winter shelter, thank you to our colleges when you opened the doors, when we had the tornado warning in Oxnard, and definitely in Port Hueneme, there was some flooding, and to be able to just have our college be able to say, we'll be an evacuation center, come in and just welcome, opening the doors. And it's such pride. I mean, I had tears of joy in the sense of here are our colleges responding to the need of our community, whatever it is. And I know it's a decision that's having to be made within a moment's notice, and to be able to say, here we are to support. So nobody's going to stay out in the street or wondering where will they stay. So thank you very much for doing that, because it was so beautiful and such an honor also for our community to know they are our colleges and we're present with you in every single moment. And that was very beautiful. I heard so many positive comments from friends, from people, just how our college has stepped up and how our colleges continue to step up and be present. So it's being noticed, it's being heard, people are mentioning it, and it's just, and I feel so much pride to be able to say, and that's the district that I serve, and that's our presidents. This is the entire staff that's doing this work. So I just wanted to make sure I said thank you, because people noticed it. It was being talked like everywhere. And for me, it's such a beautiful place to say, go to our colleges. They'll be able to take care of you. They will be able to help you in all aspects. And and I'm going to speak also our Spanish community. I will say particularly, and knowing that that's a safe place to go to in so many different ways. And when we think about enrollment, how it's going to come, it's going to come by the beautiful deeds that we do. I think Oxnard College, your spirit now is servingness. And just by service and being there, people feel that connection and they just naturally want to come to us. And there's no marketing. There was no PR. It was simply being good and saying, I'm here with you, come over and I'm here to support you. So I wanted to just make mention of it because it was very much talked about in our, at least in my community, very much noticed. Thank you.
Thank you. Oscar.
You so much for bringing that up. And I'm sorry I didn't bring that up as part of my presentation, but it was beautiful to bring in the community and know that they had a safe space at Oxnard College. But I want to recognize our Vice President of Business Services, Chris Rimbarger. He took the call at 4:30 in the morning. He was on campus, and our M&O staff came in early to set up and have everything ready for local residents to come in and use our facility. So I just want to recognize our team for their amazing work. Thank you.
I have a clarifying question and I have a reason for asking it this way, Oscar. Was OC opened up as for the fact that it's a EOC recognized center? Okay, that's what I thought. And so I saw that same information. And my point is, I was laughing at myself as I was hearing you speak, acknowledging that. You guys, all of you in this room, do such good work on such a routine basis that I just took it for granted that, oh, you're an EOC identified center and you did this, and great that the community has us as a resource. So let me add my congratulations and appreciation. With that then, board meeting evaluation. And I was about to say, I think our meetings have been running quite well recently. And if there's no opposition, I think we can dispense with the meeting evaluation on the condition that, and I think Trustee Torres, you and I were going to get with the chancellor and come up with a process to make the evaluation a more meaningful effort. And it wouldn't be like on a monthly basis after our meetings, but something that I think we've grown. Okay. And not that it's outlived its usefulness, but I think just a different way of conducting an evaluation is in order. And if there's no disagreement with that, we'll move forward to item 20.01, which is adjournment. And thank you, everybody, for your attendance, participation, and attention. We are adjourned. Oh, board, turn off, make sure your mics are turned off.